on with your coming on 60 years ago this very day. That song right there went to number one on the UK singles charts for the Beatles. It was the 10th consecutive UK number one for John, Paul, Ringo, and George. Did I get them all? It's like talking about the Muppets or something. Animal, Big Bird, Grover, Miss Piggy. I don't know. Anyway, Paperback Writer, the name of the song, number one on this day in 1966, the 10th straight number one for the Beatles. I've said it before. I will say it again because I ain't scared. Ain't scared to say it. I don't really get the Beatles. I'm sorry. 10 straight number ones. That's great. So that's what passed for a number one hit back in 1966. And you are allowed to feel differently and tell me how dumb you think I am for not quite getting the Beatles. That's okay. That's what's allowed on this show. Maybe you don't have to call me dumb, but we can disagree on something like that. It's a completely subjective opinion. It's just not my kind. I just never really got around. I don't know. Just couldn't do it. I like my music a little rockier and a little more complex than what the Beatles brought us with what I call their bubblegum pop through the 1960s. Anyway, like I said, your opinions are as welcome on this show as mine, outrageous or otherwise, subjective or otherwise. Usually when I bring you an opinion, I'll back it up with some research I have done. When I talk about, for example, places where I think our cities could save money, and one of those is coming up in the Farwell Show 5 this morning, that I would agree or disagree with, right? How we're spending, I'll back that up with why I think it's a good or a bad idea. In this case, I'm just saying, to my ears, meh, when it comes to the Beatles. Phone lines open to you the minute we begin our show every day at 519-570-2545. Star 570 and 1-800-570-5715. I had the distinct pleasure last evening of spending time with my friends from KW Accessibility. I always try to emphasize the name of the organization that way, Accessibility, because if you think of the word accessibility and you spell it correctly, it's a tough word, it's a tricky one, but it's one of those abilities that has an I in it if you're spelling accessibility. But KW Accessibility is spelt with an A, accessibility, hence the way I'm always emphasizing it. But I learned last night from Edward Ferruzel, my buddy who is the executive director at KW Accessibility, an easier way to remember this. What Edward said at the 10th annual, it was 10 years now, they've been doing that golf tournament to raise some important funds for KW Accessibility. And Edward said, it's because we are an organization that accesses your ability. It's a perfect way to remember it, whatever level that ability is at. Edward himself uses a wheelchair to get around, and he is an inspiration. Not just the way that he's always got that smile on his face, but the work that he does on behalf of others who are in similar positions. And last night just reminded me of something else I've said before, and I will say again at this very moment. I think that our charitable / nonprofit sector in this country is Canada's dirty little secret. There are so many organizations that do so much work, filling gaps in our community, meeting the needs that our governments either will not or cannot meet. And you know me, I'm a dollars and cents guy, right? I like to run the numbers, and I understand that there is not a bottomless pit of money to spend on all of the things. However, it was always my understanding that the deal we've made with one another is that we look out for each other, right? That's kind of the idea. Collectively, we come together to support those who may have a more difficult time or who may have less. And I'm not sure that contract is still being met by governments. I mean, we could point to a lot of things, I think, that we believe governments could spend less on so that there could be more spent on filling the gaps. Instead, governments have found lots of things to spend money on, lots of things I don't think they should be spending money on. I don't think the government itself should be a job creator. But anyway, I'm getting on a bit of a tangent. There are gaps, and they are being filled by dozens and dozens of agencies clear across this community and elsewhere. And I am so impressed with them, chief among them, the little accessibility organization that could. Love the work that KWA does in this region, the gaps that it fills, the needs that it is meeting for people who really need those needs met. And it has been my distinct privilege to be a part of their annual golf tournament. I don't go out to golf because they get together at the Golf Country Club, which is a beautiful, beautiful course in our community. And I just go out there and hack things up and make a mess. And then by the time dinner rolls around, I'd be all grumpy, like grumpier than I am right now. And anyway, so I go out and MC the dinner and be a part of their evening. And 10 years ago when they started, they made about $20,000 with this event. I don't have the final number from last night's fundraising yet, but they're going to get awfully close to making 5 times that. That's impressive over 10 years. The volunteers that put this all together and make this important money for the work that KWA does to access people's abilities. And because they are the friends that they are, and because they know that we, through the Farwell for Hire fundraiser, are also trying to fill a gap, right? We need money for cystic fibrosis research. Heck, in some cases, up until pretty recently, we needed money for the funding for the life-changing medication to get into the hands of families. It's always a battle. And cystic fibrosis, you know, is one of those smaller charities. We're kind of a scrappy bunch that we try to cut through the clutter and raise some awareness and work on these rare disease programs to get more support. Cystic fibrosis is filling gaps as well. And wouldn't you know, for being a part of the evening, I get a free meal, I get to hang out with great people, and KW Accessibility in turn donated $1,000 back to Farwell for Hire just for me showing up last night. So we're filling gaps with Farwell for Hire. Edward Ferruzel and the gang at KW Accessibility are filling gaps tremendously with the work they do, and we support one another in filling those gaps as part of Canada's dirty little secret. All these agencies and organizations doing the work that government could do, maybe in an ideal world government would be doing or would have done, but here we are, just punching above our weight again here in the region. So my thanks to KWA for their support of our fundraising efforts, and thanks for letting me be a part of an absolutely incredible evening last night. It fills you with all the right feels, I can tell you that. I've got more to share with you too. It's been a pretty big 24 hours for the Farwell for Hire fundraising campaign, but I will get to that after we get to this.
1, 2.
That would be your Farwell Show 5 for this Tuesday morning, the 23rd of June. Number 1, Waterloo is considering zoning changes at more than a dozen places of worship in the city that are sitting on an acre of land or more. The changes would allow places of worship to transform some of that land into low-rise housing or community uses. But the proposal was met with an icy reception at Waterloo's council meeting last night.
We value the quiet simplicity of living in a house and knowing our neighbors. We value the sense of safety for ourselves and for our children as we walk the West Bell Loop. We don't want a multi-unit residence.
Other Ontario communities have already made zoning changes to allow for housing on church properties, but more than 100 emails have been sent to city staff in Waterloo to push back on the idea. Waterloo Council says this is just the beginning of the public engagement process. Number 2, work continues to improve Waterloo's jewel of the city, also known as Waterloo Park. Priority projects for this year include replacement of the playground at Father David Bauer Drive, adding more wayfinding signage throughout the park, and improvements to infrastructure to support the popular Wonders of Winter Festival. City of Waterloo is also working on its overall Waterloo Park plan, which has not seen an update since 2009. Number 3 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, the City of Cambridge brought together nearly 200 industry leaders, government officials, skilled trade representatives, and post-secondary partners from across Ontario for a nuclear summit. Now, coincidentally, Ontario Industry Minister Stephen Lecce and Federal Industry Minister Tim Hodgson were in Newmarket yesterday announcing a new nuclear strategy for Canada.
Built over 70 years, Canada's nuclear energy advantage is one of our greatest achievements and one of our greatest cards to play in the volatile world in which Canada finds itself. There is no credible plan for Canada to move to become an energy superpower if we choose not to build upon one of the strongest energy advantages we have.
Cambridge is considered a cluster of excellence in Ontario's nuclear sector, a community where advanced manufacturing capability, deep supply chain networks, and a skilled workforce converge to support one of the province's most critical industries. You connect that to the announcement from the feds. I know it's just an announcement right now, but Cambridge could be in a pretty good position as a leader here in Ontario, maybe even more broadly than that, on this new nuclear strategy. Number 4 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning. Staff in Woolwich Township are recommending council ends sidewalk snow clearing in Elmira. The service has been offered since 2005, but a staff report says Elmira has outgrown the program. The report notes service delivery and resident expectations are not at all aligned, which is placing an undue strain on staff. The sidewalk snow clearing service had a $150,000 deficit to start last winter, and the township spent another $310,000 on the program through the winter. That translates to an average of $135 per household to support the program. Woolwich Township Council will consider that report tonight at its meeting. And number 5 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, Toronto is hosting its 4th FIFA World Cup match as Croatia is set to face Panama this evening at BMO Field. Thousands of Croatia and Panama soccer fans are expected to fill the stadium at 7 p.m. as both teams look to secure their first win in Group L of the tournament. Now, as for Canada, we are back on the pitch tomorrow versus Switzerland, and you are invited to our Farwell for Hire watch party at the David Johnston Research and Tech Park in Waterloo. We're going to get going about 3. We're going to have food. We're going to have beverages from Block 3 Brewing, and we are going to have Canada's game tomorrow on the big screen at the David Johnston Research and Tech Park in Waterloo. Come on out, enjoy a bite to eat, enjoy a bevy, help us raise a little bit of money for cystic fibrosis research. And hey, watch Canada on the big screen at our watch party.
A modern day warrior, mean stride. Today's Tom Sawyer, mean pride.
Can I have 2 liters of pop? Can I have 2 liters of pop? Well, what's more healthy, 4 beers or 2 liters of Coca-Cola? Do the math.
And that is your Farwell Show 5 for this Tuesday morning, the 23rd of June. A quick break. When we come back, your morning wake-up call. How far have we climbed in the past 2 weeks? And how far am I willing to go to raise even more money for cystic fibrosis research as we head into the final week? This is it. Starting today. 1 more week. How far will I go? Your morning wake-up call coming up. This is the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Every morning before your 9:30 update, we have the morning wake-up call as part of the program. You can make it or I will. I've always got something to wake you up, but phone lines remain open, and Edward is on the line with us. I hope it's the Edward I think it is. Is this you, Mr. Farwell?
It most certainly is.
What do I owe this distinct pleasure, sir? I got to have dinner with you last night, and now you're calling me this morning.
Oh, Mike, I just got to thank you and all our amazing volunteers and golfers. Yesterday was our 10th anniversary, and it was the most incredible, absolutely incredible day that we've ever seen. Our members are what make us tick. And I got to agree with what you said about charities being our hidden secret. You know, we're all working behind the scenes. And, you know, guys like you coming out and spending your time with us when you could be out doing your charity, it just shows how we all work together and just for an incredible cause. It was just amazing. I just got to say thank you to everybody, all our sponsors, and all the golfers that came out. I couldn't even sleep last night. I was so tired, but I couldn't sleep.
I'm not surprised. Edward, how about that live auction where that painting sold for $50,000 last night?
Wow. That just blew me away. The guys at Max Power, they're just incredible. They came and met us and saw our charity, and they supported us so well. It's just incredible. And I'm sure it wouldn't have been the same if you weren't the auctioneer.
Well, I do have the gift of gab, I've been told, Edward. So maybe it paid off a little bit last night for KWA.
One of the biggest questions I got yesterday, Mike, was, is Farwell going to be our MC again? Because we can hardly wait. So.
Edward, as long as you are having that golf tournament, I will be your MC, gladly.
Awesome. That's terrific. So I just wanted to say thank you to you and everyone, Brett Worley, Brendan Clancy, Wendy Hearn. Those guys, they work so hard all year. They don't get paid. They come for a thank you, but they don't even need that. And these people are just absolutely incredible.
It was an awesome night. You're so right. An incredible group of volunteers that make it happen. And listen, my friend, you and I had a chance to kibitz a little bit last night about our preferred hockey teams. I know that I cheer for the good team and you cheer for the team that shall not be named.
Absolutely. We were teasing each other about different things that we don't agree on.
Exactly. But
here this morning, Mike, I think we found something else.
What's that?
I think the Beatles are great.
Oh my goodness, Edward! I don't know how we're even still friends. That's funny. That's okay. I can live with that. And I bring up hockey for a reason. So I'm going to encourage you to listen for the next few minutes after we let go here, because I've got something to share connected to my charity and that hockey conversation we had last night.
Awesome. That'd be terrific. I'll be listening.
All right, Edward. Thanks for everything you do. Thanks for calling this morning.
All right. Have a great day, Mike.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's Edward Farwell. He's the executive director at KW Access Ability, where they access your abilities. Terrific guy, terrific night last night. And yes, we did talk about my Toronto Maple Leafs and whatever goofy hockey team it is that Edward cheers for. So here's the update I need to share with you as far as Farwell for Hire is concerned. Number one, you might recall a couple of weeks ago, it was actually Friday, June the 5th, Eric Cuttis, the president and CEO at TLC Pet Food, was in studio with us because we were giving away a $2,500 early bird cash prize in our Farwell for Hire 50-50 raffle. And that was TLC's money for the cash early bird prize. And Eric put out a challenge. He said TLC will match up to $10,000 any donations made between June the 5th when he was here and Father's Day, which was this past Sunday. It was the Farwell for Hire Father's Day Challenge issued by TLC Pet Food in New Hamburg, the $10,000 match. And I am blown away and overwhelmed to report that match led to almost $36,000 in donations to the Farwell for Hire Fund. We received more than $10,000 in online donations alone, plus $15,000 more collected in the community. You add the TLC Pet Food $10,000 match to that, and in about 2 weeks, we were able to raise $35,848 for cystic fibrosis research. So to our friends at TLC Pet Food, and there are many of them, the entire team gets behind this campaign. They have been a massive partner for us for a number of years now. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much. Almost $36,000 generated thanks to that $10,000 Father's Day Challenge matching donation put out by TLC Pet Food. Last night, not just with Edward Ferruzel at the KW Accessibility Golf Tournament, but so many others came up to me and wondered if I care enough about the Farwell for Hire charity to once again wear the jersey of the team that shall not be named. Here's how much I care about Farwell for Hire and cystic fibrosis research. Our current 50-50 jackpot is almost $104,000. Take-home prize, almost $52,000. I have pledged, if the take-home prize gets to $60,000, I'll do a Hot Ones challenge. I'll eat increasingly hot chicken wings while continuing to try to do the show. If the jackpot gets to 60, or the take-home prize gets to $60,000. But based on my conversations last night and what I was being asked to do, I'm right now, and I haven't told anybody yet, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to sweeten that pot. If the jackpot in the Farwell for Hire 50-50 reaches $150,000 or a take-home prize of $75,000, I will not just do the Hot Ones challenge on the air. I will do it while wearing a jersey of the team that shall not be named. So it's up to you. Can you get the take-home prize to $75,000, which is the amount you would win? Can you get the jackpot to $150,000? If you do, I will do the Hot Ones challenge while wearing the jersey of the team that shall not be named. We've got 1 week to go before we award the jackpot. And last year, we awarded more than $121,000. The jackpot was over $240,000. It's 104, just under 104,000 now. I'll tell you what, I'll go even further. You get it over $200,000, 1 week to go. You get that jackpot over $200,000, take home more than $100,000. I will cheer for that team, the team that shall not be named, for an entire year. The next season will be the team that shall not be named season on this show. You can say the team's name. I'll cheer for them with you. But the jackpot has to get to $200,000. Take home more than $100,000. It's up to you. A week to go. You can get tickets anytime at cf5050.ca. This is the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. The conversation around MAID, medical assistance in dying in this country, continues. And the latest turn in the conversation is a parliamentary committee's recommendation. This would be a parliamentary committee of our federal government. And the recommendation is to be opposed to medical assistance in dying when the sole underlying condition is mental illness. That decision or recommendation from the parliamentary committee last week. And as I said, the conversation continues as we continue it this morning with Mitchell Tremblay. Mitchell has been on our show in the past. It was some time ago. He's a longtime disability advocate and has suffered for some time with a variety of mental illnesses. Mitchell, good morning.
Good morning. It's good to talk to you again.
It's good to talk to you again, and I appreciate the time and the advocacy that you have invested into this issue. When you heard that decision from our parliamentary committee that we should pause medical assistance in dying when the sole underlying condition is mental illness, What did you think about that recommendation?
I really thought that it was the best option right now. Our country is facing a disability poverty issue nationally that is just getting worse and worse every single year. And when you break down MAID as a whole, it is a disability issue to a lot of us because MAID isn't a right to die. It's an expansion of the murder in the criminal code section. And so, 95% of MAID is terminal illness. It's somebody's, family member who's dealing with cancer. And I fully support that. And we're not trying to take that away, but that leaves the 4.4% or 732 people in 2024 who went through track 2 without a foreseeable death. And 97% of all recipients of MAID have identified disability as being an issue. And so when you break it down to something like mental illness being the sole factor, and people out there are facing homelessness, disability poverty, senior poverty, workers' injuries are WSIB is paying back the employers instead of the actual workers who were injured. That mental illness needs to be a conversation of how do we measure it? When is too far, and things like major depressive disorder, which is something I've fought since I was 16, that can lead to things like pseudo-dementia, where you have the exact type feelings or memory capacity as somebody with dementia because your brain has been struggling for so long. And so we can't really measure a lot of these factors. And so it's probably the best decision to just hold back on that expansion until we can really figure out the core problem here, which might be, lack of housing or lack of social supports or, harm reduction being removed.
When we talk, Mitchell, about measuring such things, one of the conversations is around whether or not mental illness is irremediable, whether or not it can be remedied. What's your take on the ability to overcome or receive the necessary treatment for mental illness?
I'll use myself as an example. When I first spoke to you, it would have been over 3 years ago. I was still unwinding my trauma from having been homeless 7 times in this system. On ODSP and OW, we're really failing the people who eventually might seek out MAID because of their conditions. And so for myself, I've been safe now, it must be 4 or 5 years. And I've had the time to unravel this trauma and, to really realize the coercion of MAID that I was feeling, where it was, that's my option, that's my escape. I've got to go and use that instead of building a life for myself, which, after 20 years of being on and off the streets and losing everything, you start to think, well, I'm worthless. I want to go. And that suicide ideation just becomes the leading factor in your decisions, where you stop brushing your teeth. You stop taking care of yourself because you're just giving up. And then in light of, facing the homelessness and stuff, and just on OW and ODSP alone, there's been a 72% increase in homelessness since 2019.
You mentioned that you support this recommendation to pause for this time, and it's been paused before, so we continue to hold the line on pausing medical assistance in dying when the sole underlying condition is mental illness. What would your message be to our federal and maybe even provincial government in the meantime?
I guess I would say that poverty accrues interest. This is my slogan that I've been using ever since I spoke to the CUPE meeting in Toronto on a panel. It's that, in Ontario alone, our justice system costs $1.1 billion for poverty maintenance. We're talking about encampments and trespass charges. And then healthcare, $3.9 billion, where we're treating people with addictions or people who are homeless who have been exposed to the elements. In total, that's $33 billion that we could be spending. That's half of a national basic income. And so what I would say, that this isn't a civics issue. This is all tiers of government. So we need mayors, we need premiers, and we need the federal government to work together to build safety nets. So something like fixing the Canadian disability benefit, because $666 a day is insufficient. And there's a disability tax credit barrier where you have to be able to apply and receive that to be able to get that paltry $200 more a month. Another great thing that people talk about is creating a national disability insurance program, like in Australia, their NDIS, where from being born until you're dying, you'd be covered under like an insurance plan, and that would help the entire nation be able to cover some of these gaps in benefits, which, we're losing money left and right. And then the final tier would be a provincial basic income or a national basic income. And like I said before, we're spending $33 billion right now on poverty maintenance in Ontario, $80 billion nationally. It would only cost $60 billion to have a national basic income, and that would be a ground floor. That would be less hospital visits. That'd be preventative care, and all these things would lead to people not seeing MAID as an option. They would see it as a final option, and that's a key distinction right there.
I'm just thinking back, Mitchell, on the conversation we had several years ago, and you alluded to it, dealing with and working through that trauma from being unhoused 7 times in recent memory. And I remember how desperate you were at the time. If I'm not mistaken, you had even received some sort of crowdfunding help to meet expenses when you were living in Guelph at the time, get some groceries, get a little bit of relief from rent, etc. How are you doing today?
Well, that one-time ask for the 40th birthday, I think it was, has become a monthly ask with the way the prices are and rent going up and grocery costs. And so we have mutual aid networks that we've built on the social media apps like Blue Sky or Twitter. And what we do is put it an ask. Let's say right now my ask is I need $75 just to get to the end of the month because ODSP and OW run out so soon, so early in the month. I mean, Ontario Works is still stuck at $733, and I was on that for 7 years. Now I'm on ODSP, which is $1,400, and the poverty line is $2,300 in Canada, and so I'm well below that. And so every day I'm still trying to beg to get to the end of the month, but I'm one of the lucky people who's got an affordable rent and a safe place to live. There's a lot of people out there who were where I was, sleeping under bridges or sleeping in downtowns or in encampments and just trying to survive. And I see myself joining them again possibly soon. My lease is up for negotiation, and the last time it was, the landlord tried to do an N12 eviction, taking the unit for his own use. And we had to fight him, right up to almost going to the housing tribunal. And so that fear is still there, and that trauma, I'm absolutely certain, could just re-trigger, and I would be dealing with everything that I've worked so hard to unwind again.
Mitchell, I appreciate your time on the show today. Thank you very much again for joining us.
Thank you very much, Mike. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye. Mitchell Tremblay is a disability advocate with whom we spoke several years ago on occasion of that 40th birthday that you heard Mitchell make reference to. And as that milestone birthday approached and he was in the position that he was in, he used it as the launching pad for a GoFundMe crowdfunding campaign to help him meet his basic expenses. It worked. He got some groceries. He got some rent relief so he could breathe for a minute or two. And here he is several years later continuing his advocacy work, and he's in a more stable. It's all relative to what stable means to you and I, of course, but he's in a more stable place. If you were to ask me, and Mitchell has been open, by the way, that he first thought when he was just 11 years old that he wanted to die. So here we are 32 years later. He has gone through various stages and stretches of homelessness. He has a lengthy list of conditions and diagnoses, including major depressive disorder, personality disorders, post-traumatic stress disorder, social anxiety, bulimia, one of his most recent diagnoses. The man is dealing with an awful lot. And yet, he remains on the side of the parliamentary committee that recommended last week that we pause medical assistance in dying for those whose sole underlying condition is mental illness. I would submit to you that this is the case study, or at least a case study for that pause. Thinking of someone who at the age of 11 first started thinking they'd rather die than live, given what they were dealing with mentally, and 32 years later, not only still with us, but doing better. Certainly, again, it's relative, and it's not great, but it's relatively better to what it was when Mitchell and I last talked 3 years ago. That suggests to me that there is a light at the end of the tunnel for somebody whose sole underlying condition is mental illness. There are treatment options. There are support programs that can be accessed, and you heard Mitchell make the case for a universal basic income. I've never been opposed to that out of hand. I'm certainly willing to entertain the conversation, and I think when we break down the numbers and we look at all of the money we spend on various programs trying to combat poverty, etc., if you put it all into one basket with one administration, I think we might actually realize a savings. I don't think certainly, well, could we find a way to spend more? Sure, we could. But I would like to think that we would certainly spend no more than we currently are, and then provide that universal basic income. Point, though, relative, or that's important to this conversation, is I think this shows that it can be remedied. There are things that we can do as communities, as a country, to help those who are in extreme poverty, who are dealing with various mental illness issues. So this pause makes absolute sense to me. Where do you land on the issue? Medical assistance in dying. Should it be extended to people whose sole underlying condition is a mental illness? The parliamentary committee says no. I agree with that. What do you think? Your thoughts are always welcome on the Mike Farwell Show. Phone lines are open to you on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
What I would say that this isn't a civics issue. This is all tiers of government. So we need mayors, we need premiers, and we need the federal government to work together to build safety nets. So something like fixing the Canadian disability benefit, because $666 a day is insufficient. And there's a disability tax credit barrier where you have to be able to apply and receive that to be able to get that paltry $200 more a month.
Mitchell Tremblay is a disability advocate who has, since the age of 11, considered at various times being better off dead than alive. And he joins us this morning to talk about our parliamentary committee's recommendation that we do not in this country expand MAID, or medical assistance in dying, to those whose sole underlying condition is a mental illness. I feel that is the prudent choice to make. And it's not the first time. We've been pausing this. I think this is the second, it might even be the third pause of this expansion of medical assistance in dying. I struggle mightily with the issue, as I suspect many of us do. But your thoughts are always welcome at 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. An email from Mark to Mike at 570news.com. He says, what about MAID and children? Well, currently, unless we're expanding it even further, you have to be over the age of 18. What are the consequences, Mark continues, as we remove limitations to accessing MAID? Canada has the most expansive assisted death regime in the world, and there are significant concerns in the medical establishment about its current state. If MAID was limited to a handful of people with ALS and similar diseases who really faced a catastrophic end, I think most Canadians would be comfortable with it. Me personally, I don't like MAID and what it represents, but if it were strictly limited, I wouldn't be losing any sleep over it. What it currently is and what it is evolving into deeply worries me. That from Mark via email to Mike at 570news.com. Jonathan also sends an email saying he can see both sides. Some people won't be able to live anywhere near a normal life, and would be totally dependent on others for everything. So for them, I'd consider MAID an option, but not everyone is in that situation. When you talked about hidden disabilities some time back, I have Asperger's syndrome, a mix of ADHD and autism. I can lead at least a semi-normal life with some assistance and medication. Some cases would be the result of PTSD, and some cases are so bad it drives the person to suicide or being suicidal. But many can be helped with counseling from therapists and help from friends and family. So it should be taken on a case-by-case basis. Unfortunately, it's unlikely there will be a cure for many of these things anytime soon because of how they can differ from person to person. Fair comment, Jonathan, and understood for sure. This is where I get at, and Jonathan's talking about the various treatments that are available. Where I struggle is with this idea of essentially we are throwing up our hands and saying, we only care so much, right? We only pretend to offer so much in the way of help and support. This takes me back to yesterday's conversation on the show about the death penalty and new research. That's why we brought it up, that shows a dramatic rise. 60% of Canadians in a recent poll done by Research Co. out west, 60% of Canadians said they would support a reinstatement of the death penalty. And I got this terrific email from Julie that I read last evening and thought I would share with you. Do murderers deserve death? I think they do. J. Michael Yates, in his book Line Screw, describes how a guard named Jack Dunham took a gun from the armory in the Ocala prison in British Columbia, went up to the cell where Clifford Olson was sleeping, and put the gun to his head. Dunham decided to kill Olson, whom all the guards believed was evil because he had just found out he had only 6 months to live. Indeed, he did die shortly after this incident. I confess, when I read that Dunham had changed his mind and not killed Olson, I was disappointed. This from a person who has never believed in the death penalty and never will. And right there in the regret I felt about Olson still being alive is the basic problem with capital punishment. We want to kill those who kill the innocent because it just feels right, and we can't deny that they deserve it. Robert Alton Harris, who was the last person to die in the gas chamber in California before this method was declared cruel and unusual punishment, kidnapped his teenage victims from a fast food line, drove them out of town, shot them to death, and sat calmly eating their lunch. The horror and evil of such acts seem to demand death as punishment. What we forget is the death penalty isn't something murderers do. It is something that we do. It is the deed that teaches, not the name we give it. Murder and capital punishment are not opposites that cancel one another, but similars that breed their kind. We decide what kind of people we wish to be and what acts we wish to commit. The same decision every murderer had to make when he faced a potential victim. So I can answer the question Ben Wheaton asked in a Second Opinion column. Why should we have humanity to people who do inhuman things so we do not become them? Interesting take from Julie on the capital punishment discussion from yesterday, which I think ties into this idea. Medical assistance in dying is choosing one's death. And in the case of mental illness being the sole underlying cause, maybe we are moving people in that direction. This is the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. It is an issue that we have been talking about on the show for a couple of weeks now, and it all started during our daily Talkback Hour. We always open the phone lines noon to 1 every day, give you the chance to weigh in on the issues of the day or share with us what you think ought to be an issue of the day. And we received a call a couple of weeks back towards the end of our Talkback Hour from someone in the Rosemount neighborhood of Kitchener who said, I don't like what the city is doing at the Krug Street Plaza. And that opened our eyes to and directed our attention towards a redevelopment proposal for that plaza at 501 Krug Street in Kitchener. It is a strip plaza I think you would call it now. It's got a convenience store on one end. It's got a bingo center on the other. Some small businesses in between, including a cafe, a pizza place, a tailor. I think there's a bank still in there. Anyway, and the proposal is to turn that plaza into residential housing. 4 6-story apartment buildings, more than 230 units of housing. And the neighborhood wasn't thrilled, according to that caller a couple of weeks ago. And that mindset continues to gain momentum. There is now a yellow ribbon campaign in the Rosemount area. You'll see yellow ribbons tied around trees, on front porches, you name it, as a sign of solidarity to keep the neighborhood the way that it is. Lauren McDonald and Jennifer Bernsteel are the yellow ribbon ladies behind this campaign to raise awareness of the proposed development and to organize neighbors to push back against it. And both Lauren and Jennifer join the show this morning. Jen, if I could start with you. When you first heard about these proposed plans for redevelopment at the Krug Street Plaza, what was your initial reaction to those plans?
Well, it came as a major surprise to me and I believe most of the neighborhood when the postcards arrived in the mail from the city regarding the redevelopment of the plaza. That was about 2 weeks ago. I did not even personally receive the postcard, but my mother did, and lots of people started posting it in social media. So we all knew pretty quickly. We were very concerned. We had a lot of questions how this is going to impact our neighborhood, and we just decided to take action immediately and try to do something about it and make sure everyone knew what was happening and create awareness.
And I guess taking that action, Lauren, is what led to the Yellow Ribbon campaign, keeping the Krug for the Krug Street Plaza. What is the idea behind the Yellow Ribbon campaign?
Well, around 2010, when they wanted to close some of our neighborhood schools, Smithson, Mackenzie King, Rosemount, Jennifer actually came up with the idea to tie blue ribbons in the neighborhood to cause awareness so that people knew what was happening. Because a lot of people don't know what's going on in their neighborhood because, they're busy and it's not always well advertised. So we thought, why not revisit the ribbon campaign, different color, as a way to show solidarity, awareness, to get people talking. And they're a simple but a really impactful way to create awareness and to get people involved in just this whole process and knowing what's going on.
And what have you been hearing from folks as you raise more awareness about this and the Yellow Ribbon campaign spreads?
It's a variety of responses, but there's a lot of sentiment that it is just a little bit too much for our neighborhood. It's too big. A lot of people feel too much density in one little spot. It's just a very beloved plaza. It is well utilized by the neighborhood, and that it's just not, with the size that it is, a really good fit for our neighborhood. We have smaller houses, smaller little streets. We already have been having densification in our area in quiet ways, where houses are being turned into duplexes or torn down for triplexes. In the last 8 years, I've had 8 duplexes, and behind that, 76 townhomes built on my street in the corner around me. So it is already happening in our neighborhood, and we just feel that this is just going to be too much in one concentrated space for our neighborhood to really absorb.
To that end, Jen, when we're talking about what is proposed here, and it's 4, I guess we might call them low-rise, 6-story apartment buildings are proposed on that Krug Street Plaza lot at 501 Krug. But is there anything that would work here, or is the hope for the neighborhood that the plaza just remains as is? Is there room for anything different?
I mean, we would love the plaza to just stay as it is. It's a great, busy plaza. It's a real hub for the community. But, I mean, we are also pretty aware that, it probably is going to change. Things always change in life. But we would like to see it change in a way that still makes it a great place, that doesn't just fill it with concrete towers and very little green space and, taking down all the trees. And we just, that would be our goal, to make this maybe a scaled back version with a lot of input and taking the concerns and the feedback from the neighbors, many of who will back onto this, their backyards, and just making sure this is done really thoughtfully and that our concerns are heard and implemented.
To that end, Jen, could you just give us a perspective for those that don't live in the neighborhood about what this plaza means to folks in the area? I was talking about it on the air not too long ago, and I suggested that the bingo center was probably the anchor there and the most popular spot, but a number of people pointed out the Alpine Cafe that's been going for about 30 years now in the plaza. What does this plaza offer to the community? What does it mean to the neighborhood?
It means a lot. It's walkable. It allows people to walk up to the pharmacy, grab a slice of pizza, get some beautiful baking. There's a lot of, there's a little variety store. There's lots of service businesses. I mean, the bingo is busy, and, they provide fundraising for our school, which is Smithton School in the neighborhood. When we decided to organize a community meetup last Monday, which was a week after the postcards came out. We just did it in the plaza. We said, everybody come. It was promoted on Facebook. We didn't know if anybody would show up. It was amazing. We were just blown away. Hundreds of people came. There were kids and dogs and people were honking their horns, and it was just a really amazing show of support. And a lot of people really, really care and don't want it to turn into something that's going to be a negative for the neighborhood.
Lauren, have you had any conversations with your city councillor or anybody else at the city about this proposed development?
We, as a neighborhood group, have been sending several emails to Evan Whitman, who is in charge of the project. I don't believe we can, I think Scott Davey, who's our councilor, our ward person, comes in further down the process. But he was invited, and he did show up at the meeting, and I know I didn't get a chance to speak with him, but I know a lot of people did speak with him. And back in the day when Stanley Park School was up to be closed, he did come back then to our meetings then. So he does really show up, and it's interesting what people have to say. So we're hoping that he's listening this time as well.
So there is a neighborhood meeting about this development happening tomorrow evening. It's a virtual meeting, I do believe, where you can hop on via Zoom. But what are you hoping might happen at this meeting tomorrow evening?
Well, first of all, we encourage everyone to attend the meeting, either on Zoom, it's at 7 p.m., or we have actually organized with the people at St. James Rosemount Church, have been kind enough to allow us to have a watch party for anyone with accessibility issues. So that is also happening in person at the church if anyone needs that. We thought that was really important. But we want people to go, listen, ask lots of questions, and then form an opinion. We certainly don't speak for everybody. We're just two concerned moms who wanted to make a difference, and that's what we're doing. We're trying. Share your feedback. It's really important. Send a letter or an email by July 3rd. To the city, and then tie a yellow ribbon on your tree if you want to show your support. Those are the ways. And I encourage people to join the Facebook group, Rosemount Neighborhood Kitchener. Rosemount Neighbor Group on Facebook. Lots of action in there. And we just actually drove around the neighborhood before this to take a look, and it's so heartwarming to see ribbons everywhere. And we just want to thank everyone who's helping. We're not doing this alone. We've created a little crew. Very short time, we connected with other amazing people in the community. Rita made a letter writing template. Brianne has made a petition. Jennifer D. made flyers. People are going door to door. Debbie and Christine made these wicked lawn signs. People are coming out of the woodwork and showing that Rosemount community really cares.
Lauren, a week ago, you hold your inaugural Yellow Ribbon event meeting. We're hoping to get people engaged, and I hope they do too. These are important engagement opportunities that the city provides, and we know that nothing happens overnight. There's a proposal right now. It will be some time before any ground is broken if this moves forward, but where does the Yellow Ribbon campaign go from here? How do you plan to stay active through this process?
Well, we are still encouraging people to come and get ribbons because there are a lot of people that are messaging saying, my neighbor wants a ribbon or she can't get there. Can I get a ribbon? I get messages all hours of the day or night for ribbons, which is great. And I have porch pickup if anybody wants a ribbon. And just to we're hoping the ribbons will keep the momentum going because there is going to be big gaps in the process. And we just hope that the ribbons are a reminder and the momentum that we all need to just stay focused and to keep paying attention to what's going on and to remember that this is a process and that we need to be in there for the long haul if we want to see the changes that we'd like to see.
And while we would love to pepper the entire neighborhood with ribbons, we are fast running out and are going broke. So we encourage other people to please buy ribbon. Buy ribbon. Do it on your own. You don't need permission to do that. Just go for it and get involved.
I love the way the both of you are getting involved, and I appreciate the time on the show today. Thank you both very much for being here.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Lauren McDonald and Jennifer Bernsteel. They are the Yellow Ribbon Ladies, organizing the Rosemount neighborhood to raise awareness of a proposed development and to engage the neighborhood in pushing back or at least working with the city to create something that works best for all involved. This is not a new story. We see it and hear it virtually any time some increased density is proposed in any neighborhood, anywhere. And believe you me, I get it. I happen to know this particular plaza rather well. Immediately across the street from this plaza, there are several similar buildings already standing. This proposal at the Krug Street Plaza would create, as I mentioned at the outset, more than 230 residential units of housing. Can the area support and or sustain it? I don't know. I mean, Krug Street doesn't seem all that busy today. There is relatively good access to the expressway and or a major thoroughfare like Victoria Street. River Road can connect you to some things, but it's tough. It's tough when you see this kind of change in your immediate neighborhood. Nothing's happening overnight, but the proposal is for 4 apartment buildings of 6 stories apiece. Like I said, there are very similar buildings immediately across the street from where the plaza sits today. And this conversation just makes me think back on something I mentioned in the Farwell Show 5 today, and Josh Piercy was talking about during All News Mornings, our reporter with Mark Douglas and Christine Clark. And that is the idea that the city of Waterloo is exploring to allow zoning changes for places of worship, usually those places of worship sitting on land that is of at least 1 acre in size. But the proposed zoning changes would allow for residential, low-rise development or other community uses on that land. And I remember bringing this up on the air so long ago that Dave Jaworski was still the mayor in Waterloo. I had been out for a walk with Rosie the pandemic pup, and we were going through the neighborhood, and I was just struck by the number of churches within blocks of my home in Kitchener that we were passing as we took our walk. And then I thought of more that were a little further away, and it occurred to me then, years ago, that this is the very place we should be building housing on those lands where places of worship currently sit. I mean, let's be honest. The attendance at these buildings is lower than it has historically been. These are large buildings on large parcels of land sitting right in our neighborhoods today. Why wouldn't we use that land to create some more housing? In fact, isn't that one of the basic foundational principles in our faith-based lives themselves, to help others in our neighborhood, in our community, and people need housing? I think this, if not on the land where places of worship are today, then where? Where better than that land, at least from where I'm sitting? And I get that if or when it's happening in your neighborhood, it's very unsettling, but I frankly can't think of a better place. And I would hope that this ultimate development, if it does change in Kitchener at the Krug Street Plaza, does continue to offer some level of retail opportunity to the neighborhood, because those little convenience stores, those little ma and pa restaurants where you can grab a pizza slice or whatever, a cup of coffee, are important. And if we want these walkable communities of the future, then I'd like to think that whatever is being proposed at where the Krug Street Plaza is now still offers some of those retail opportunities. This is the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. We are just ahead of your 10:30 update in the 570 News Center. Your daily reminder that not everyone is a jackwagon coming up. But quickly to the phones, Paul is with us. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, Mike. I live in that neighborhood, a block and a half, 2 blocks from that mall. I never got a postcard in the mail. That's funny.
That is funny.
Yeah, I know. I saw it because someone from my family saw it in the paper and shared it with me, and I'm like, well, that's interesting. Didn't know that was happening. So, and you've mentioned your guests, as well as you have mentioned the stores that are in that plaza currently. You guys seem to forget about that barber shop that I've been going to for years because it's in the mall and it's close and it's friendly and it's cheap.
Paul, have you ever met me?
Yes.
Can you understand why I might not think of a barber shop? Sorry about that, but I'm glad you reminded us.
Okay, thanks, Mike. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Paul. I appreciate it. It's just the kind of guy that it's not something that ever crosses my mind. A barbershop is a place I could really use right now.
Not everyone's a jackwagon. Not every heart is cold. Not every promise made to you is gonna turn to gold and fold. Some people mean it when they say they care. Some folks will show up, actually be there. So don't close the door on every soul you meet. Not everyone's a jackwagon on this street.
Today, I would like to introduce you to Randy McCartan, who is a dedicated volunteer who's made an impact on children, youth, and families for more than 30 years in this community. For more than 15 years, Randy has been a volunteer driver with Family and Children's Services. He has completed more than 3,000 drives helping children get to school, access programs, and stay connected with family. Randy's compassion, reliability, and mentorship have strengthened the entire program. For more than 30 years, Randy has taken on key leadership roles with Kitchener Minor Hockey, including coach, president, and past president. He's known for his player-first approach, his commitment to safety, and his ability to create positive, inclusive experiences for young athletes. And for all of that, and it's a lot, Randy McCartan is the City of Kitchener's Senior of the Year. They live among us, these people who are not jackwagons. Sometimes, I know, we think that we are just surrounded by jackwagons, but we are also surrounded by people like Randy McCartan, recognized recently as Kitchener's Senior of the Year. If you know somebody who fits the bill of not a jackwagon, feel free to reach out to me anytime. Mike at 570news.com is the email address, and maybe we'll share that story during this daily reminder that not everyone is a jackwagon. An update from the 570 News Center, then a new musical that hits the stage in Guelph with its roots here in the region. Plus, who's ready for a good old-fashioned East Coast Kitchener party? We'll talk about it before 11. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. If it is one thing I hope you know about this show, It's that we love our arts and culture sector in this region. We think it might need a little bit more in the way of support. I'm talking to you, regional government. Anyway, we'll just leave that over there. But we love our arts and sector community here in the region. And I have a particular fondness as a former high school theater geek for those organizations that are involved in stage productions. And one of them just happens to be Penny and Pound Theater Productions. Its executive director, Piper Distel, joins the show this morning. Piper, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Always a pleasure to talk to you and get the chance to find out what's on stage and how it got there. And as we get into that, can you tell us a little more about Penny and Pound and where this theater production company came from?
For sure. So Penny and Pound was founded in 2015. We actually initially started out as a youth and young adult theater company. But after COVID, we expanded into theater programming for all ages. So now we do youth, we do community shows. We have done some semi-professional work in the past. It's just anything that we can do to support the arts community in Waterloo Region and beyond.
And more than 10 years in now, Piper, things must be going at least reasonably well. But what's it like in the theater space these days?
Post-COVID, COVID had its ups and its downs for the theater world. I feel like, in a way, it brought the theater community together. I find there's a lot more support from, fellow groups and we're all we like to kind of support each other from, Drayton Entertainment, who's a professional group, to some of the smaller theater groups. We really have a little bit more mutual respect for each other. The problems that came with COVID was lack of funding. It is so hard to find theater funding around this area, especially for not-for-profit groups or for smaller non-professional groups like Penny and Pound. It is really, really hard to find the funding. So we rely pretty heavily on ticket sales and sponsors. And with, the current economic status of the world, that can be really, really hard to come by. So that's something that I think every theater group around here can relate to, is just trying to find the resources and the funding to keep our doors open. Of course, we've become very, very resourceful, and we've become very good at finding ways around things and finding ways to do things. But with the price of licensing and the price of venue rentals and everything, it's so expensive.
And given all of those challenges, Piper, I mean, it's an industry, the old joke I still think holds true of the quote-unquote starving artist, right? People told me getting into the industry that I'm in that, you better get used to eating craft dinner, for example, because there's not going to be a whole lot of money in this arts-based, performance-based industry. How did you find your way into it?
I was raised in it. I was raised in the theater world. My mother has always been a theater person. She's actually one of the founders of Penny and Pound. My father was a writer. I come from a long line of theater people, so I was raised in that kind of bohemian art scene. It's what I've always known. So I've never really felt the dip of, oh, this is the artist's life, just because that's what I was raised with. So I'm very lucky in that regard. A lot of other people enter the scene and it's like a culture shock, right? They're like, oh my gosh, you're right. There's not a lot of money here or whatever. But yeah, I'm lucky in that regard.
You talk about writing and Black Sheep, a new musical comedy, which is a Penny and Pound production coming to the Guelph Little Theatre in a couple weeks' time, is based on a book by none other than Piper Distel. Tell me more about Black Sheep.
Yeah, so Black Sheep is, it's a true story. It's actually pretty cool. It is about Louis Mudge. If the name Mudge sounds familiar to our Waterloo Region listeners and North Dumfries listeners, Abel Mudge was the founder of AIR, and Louis Mudge was his grandson, who also happens to be a great uncle of mine, and he was the first gangster in Canada. So Louis Mudge moved to Wisconsin with his wife and daughter, and opened a saloon and terrorized this small town in Wisconsin. And strangely enough, a newspaper reporter by the name of Chase Osborne decided to team up with a band of kind of some misfits in the town and bring this man to justice, bring Louis Mudge to justice. So Osborne ended up writing a book about it. So it's actually Chase Osborne's book. It's not mine. It's called The Iron Hunter.
If I have that family tree correct then, Piper, I just heard you cop to being the great niece of Canada's first gangster.
I am the great niece, so, everybody better sleep with one eye open.
That is a fantastic piece of family lore. What did you think when you discovered this? I mean, I'd wear it as a badge of honor for sure, but what's this like?
I honestly wear it as a badge of honor. I mean, it's something that I actually discovered it. I knew my lineage, but I was unaware of who Louis Mudge was until a few years ago, a Waterloo Region record article came out about Louis Mudge called The Devil in the Law. You can still find it online. It's a great article. And we were reading up on Louis Mudge, and we're like, oh, gosh, like a member of our family did this. Like, this is a terrible guy. But it's still kind of cool to have that like lore and that history that we didn't know about. And that's where Black Sheep came from. It came from finding out about this family history.
So how does it feel putting that very personal family history story onto the stage?
It's a lot of fun because, like a lot of Canadian history, it tends to get overlooked in the theater world. So it's cool to be able to tell like a thoroughly Canadian story about a local legend, when a lot of the stories that are being produced right now are American, or they're British, or they're not from Canada. So yeah, having this story on the stage, especially one that we've researched and we've looked into and we have this connection with, is really, really cool, especially because a lot of people don't know who Louis Mudge is. So hopefully they're going to walk away knowing kind of a fun little local legend and a fun tidbit of information.
So you open 2 weeks this Thursday, July the 9th at the Guelph Little Theatre. Tell me a little more about what the Guelph Little Theatre offers to a production like this.
Guelph Little Theatre is a wonderful space. They do have their own in-house theater company that runs there. But they also rent to other local organizations. It's a beautiful, beautiful space that we're very, very lucky to call home for a lot of our productions. And it's surrounded by some really great restaurants, some really great different outings for people. And it's going to be a great time for everyone.
A really great opportunity for our community to learn a little bit more about its gangster past, and very personal to the Distel family, obviously. How can we get tickets, Piper?
So tickets are available online or at the door prior to the performances. They're available online at onstagedirect.com. If you search Penny and Pound Theatre, you'll be able to find the link. Or, like I said, they're available at the door prior to the performances.
Really looking forward to seeing this one make its way to the stage. Thanks very much for making time for the show again, Piper, and best of luck with Black Sheep.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
Piper Distel joins the show. Piper is the executive director of the Penny and Pound Theatre Productions Company, begun in 2015, still going strong today. And they will be staging Black Sheep, a new musical comedy loosely based on The Iron Hunter by Chase Osborne, telling the story of Piper's great uncle, who just so happened to be Canada's first gangster, and none other than a relative of the founder of the Village of Ayr. How do you like that little bit of local history? Black Sheep, a new musical comedy. Details at pennyandpoundtheatre.com as we continue to support the arts and culture sector here on the show. Love it. Love what they do, the stories that they bring to us. Okay, we're going to take a quick time out. When we come back, who's up for a kitchen party? Everybody's up for a kitchen party. Every time I hear about, you know what? I've never had a kitchen party. I remember one night, very late. I don't remember where we had been. It was a bunch of coworkers. We ended up in my kitchen, but it wasn't like nobody had a fiddle. Nobody was playing music. Nobody was dancing. It was just a bunch of people sitting around my kitchen. It was a long time ago. I've always wanted to have a good old-fashioned East Coast kitchen party, and we are all getting that opportunity in downtown Kitchener next week. We'll tell you about it coming up on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. It is not at all uncommon in these here parts to run into someone who's got their roots firmly planted on Canada's east coast. And I can't help but wonder if that's at least part of the reason we are going to have ourselves a good old-fashioned East Coast kitchen party in downtown Kitchener next week. The roots run pretty deep. And what would an East Coast kitchen party be without the appropriate seafood? And where better to get that than from Coddle's Catch in Kitchener? Its owner, Ron Coddle, joins us on the show this morning. Codfather, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mike. How you doing?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Excellent. Pretty excited about next Tuesday.
As am I. Ever since learning about it, it sounds like a great time. Along with Ron Coddle, we have Steve Roth with us, the manager of special events at the City of Kitchener. Steve, good morning to you.
Man, I think we're all excited.
I think we got three excited dudes on the show right now.
All you say is seafood, East Coast, and then we're jacked. We're excited.
Steve, this is just the warm-up, really. Like, Canada Day happens Wednesday, of course, next Wednesday, and this is going to take us right through Tuesday evening in downtown Kitchener.
Yeah, that's exactly it, Mike. We have traditionally done a Canada Day celebration this year, falling on next Wednesday, of course, the 1st of July. Always possibly the biggest event that we host here at the City of Kitchener. And my team and I have been talking about, why are we not doing a pre-Canada Day festival? We've got all the infrastructure set up, and it took about 45 seconds to look at the portfolio and say, what would be fantastic is let's do a celebration of Atlantic Canada. Let's do a good old-fashioned East Coast kitchen party right here in downtown Kitchener. And for anyone who has never experienced an East Coast kitchen party, I think we're going to get the closest thing to being in Newfoundland and Nova Scotia next Tuesday right here in downtown Kitchener. And I think the other piece that makes this one of the most exciting events for our team to share with our community is the fact that that Ron and our good friends at Coddles are a part of this, because you can't have a kitchen party without some amazing seafood.
You mentioned it took 45 seconds to look at the portfolio and decide, hey, we have the infrastructure and this would be the great warm-up to Canada Day. And I'm sure it's another 45 seconds after that where you're like, Ron Coddle, that's the guy we need to call next.
We need the Codfather.
We need the Codfather. So, Ron, why does this downtown Kitchener East Coast kitchen party excite you so much?
Well, Mike, we get to share our love for seafood, and one of my dreams was after we opened Coddle's Catch was to open some type of a restaurant, and we're so busy with Coddles we never get a chance to. And this is going to be the closest thing to it. I mean, we're going to have a lobster hut and feature lobster rolls and lobster sliders and a lobster and seafood chowder. We're going to do a Halifax grill pier, and it's going to feature like tacos, salmon tacos from New Brunswick, scallops from Digby, and mussels from PEI. And, of course, we have to do oysters from PEI. And Chef D is going to do fish and chips for us. So what's not to be excited, Mike?
I tell you, I'm getting hungry, and it's not even lunch hour yet, just listening to all of that. And, Ron, isn't this kind of part of the original, like the origin story of Coddle's Catch, that famous down east seafood?
Yes. I've been to kitchen parties in Newfoundland. I've been to lobster boils in PEI and Nova Scotia, clam bakes on the beach. And just to bring that to people in Ontario, particularly the Waterloo Region, is just been a dream. And, partnering with the City of Kitchener, when they mentioned this, it was like, Coddles is 1,000% in.
Steve, I was mentioning just before the break that preceded this conversation that I've never been to an official or had an official kitchen party. I've had people in my kitchen, but we're just kind of hanging out. There was no fiddle, there was no music, and I know, Steve, that along with the food that the Codfather has so well described for us, we will have entertainment as part of this big party too, right?
We definitely will have entertainment as part of this. We actually have 6 bands that focus on kind of that Atlantic music feel. So we have 3 stages. We, of course, have our main stage right on King Street where Glass Tiger will be on Canada Day. We also have a secondary stage and a third stage down on King Street close to Ontario because it's going to be a celebration that goes all the way down King Street. And what's interesting, Mike, when you say you haven't experienced a kitchen party, since Ron and I started having conversations about this event, maybe 3, 4, 5 months ago, whenever we started chatting, Ron, every time we get on the phone, the two of us are so excited to talk about our journeys to Atlantic Canada, to Nova Scotia, to Newfoundland, exchange stories, exchange the good times. And there is something really, we love Kitchener, we love Southern Ontario, we love our province, but I'll tell you, there is nothing like being out on the East Coast in the Atlantic provinces. It's a different vibe, it's a different feel, it's a different place, and we are very excited to share that vibe with our community next Tuesday on June 30th.
How much are you going to charge us to come to downtown Kitchener next Tuesday night, Steve?
Well, I don't know if we mentioned this, Mike. Absolutely free.
There's my favorite F word again.
Absolutely free, and there are a lot of people. Firstly, when we brought this idea up, hey, we're doing a kitchen party. Those people who knew said, I'm going to be there. I'm not going to miss this. And for those people who have never experienced a kitchen party, you got to see it, hear it, feel it, smell it to believe it. It is a lot of fun. And again, being able to work, it's been an absolute honor and a treat to work with the good folks at Coddles and with Ron on this event. When you talk seafood, there is no one better in this community.
Ron, people tell me often that I'm a pretty busy guy, but I can't hold a candle to you. You're like, where's Waldo, showing up in all of these different places. Like, I don't know how you do it, but when Steve reaches out, why do you say absolutely yes to the East Coast Kitchen Party?
Well, Mike, passionate about the East Coast, of course, being from Halifax, and any chance to show off anything about the East Coast, I'm into it. We would like the music, the beer garden. We've got sponsors, Mike. We've got the government of PEI is helping out. We've got the Nova Scotia Department of Fisheries. We've got giveaways for the kids. We've got some pens and pins and stickers and stuffed lobster that the Codfather will be handing out. And we were thinking about doing a kiss the cod thing, but that's an authentic East Coast thing. I think you got to be in the East Coast by the salt water to kiss the cod. But we've got tons of stuff, and I'd be remiss not mentioning Mom's Bread and Pie are going to be doing some down east snacks. We're going to have blueberry pie, strawberry shortcake, and some lemon tarts, just in case you're not full of the seafood, Mike.
I will not get full. I will not get full of the seafood. I will save room for dessert. I promise you that. I can't wait. This is a great idea. A little stroke of genius. Some Atlantic Canada in downtown Kitchener, just to warm us up for Canada Day next Wednesday. So the East Coast Kitchen Party happens next Tuesday, 5 until 10. We're going to close down downtown Kitchener, King Street, and have this big party. Steve, Ron, thank you so much for organizing this for the community, and look forward to seeing you next Tuesday.
Amazing.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Steve Roth is the manager of special events with the City of Kitchener. Ron Caudle, of course, is the one and only Cod Father, the owner of Coddles Catch. It's an East Coast Kitchen Party from 5 until 10 p.m. next Tuesday night. Of course, you'll pay for your food and your drink and your dessert and whatnot, but the entertainment, all that's going on, the party is being thrown for us. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I didn't have time because we're up against the clock, but I know for Steve Roth and the team with events, the events team in Kitchener, this is the beginning, because then Canada Day comes, there's a big celebration, and all kinds of events will be activating, as they say, downtown Kitchener through the summer. Join us at the East Coast Kitchen Party next Tuesday evening from 5 until 10. Downtown Kitchener. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. I'm going to share some numbers with you here, and let's see if they sink in with you the way they sunk in with me. In the first 5 months of this year, between January and May of this year, more than 15,000 fundraisers were started on the GoFundMe platform for, quote, essential needs in this country. 15,000 people starting a crowdfunding campaign to meet their, quote, essential needs. If we look back as far as 2020, GoFundMe reports a 274% increase in campaigns in this country that mention the cost of living, high inflation, or shortages of affordable housing. A 274% increase in campaigns on GoFundMe due to cost of living, high inflation, or shortages of affordable housing. And 15,000 such fundraisers already started on GoFundMe this year alone. That is an 8% increase from last year in that same period. William Huggins joins the program. He's an assistant professor in finance and business economics at McMaster University. William, good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
What do numbers like that say to you?
To me, that's a diagnostic symbol or a diagnostic number that sort of points to the fact that there's a significant problem in how it is that we're allocating resources in our society. There are people who are undergoing significant shortages, and it's become so significant that they're willing to go out on the internet and show everybody that they have problems.
Yeah,
that's not a low-cost thing to do, emotionally speaking. So it really should tell people not just that so and so needs help, but that it's a pretty significant. It's gotten pretty significant by the time people are posting about it on the internet.
Absolutely, it sounds desperate, and I don't mean that in a negative way. That's just as you point out, right? There's an emotional toll that you're taking here.
That's right. Like, it's not easy. If you had to go to a food bank to feed your family, or you've got if it's extreme enough that you're panhandling on the street, right? Like, it's the same sort of idea. It points to a measure of a certain level of desperation. And that's to everybody else who isn't experiencing that should really force a bit of a gut check.
So where are the gaps that you could identify that may be leading us to this state?
Well, the overall sort of picture looks like, three tiers in terms of social support. You have your friends and family at the very bottom level. You have the state or the province and federal government at the top level that might provide for certain programs. But there's this not-for-profit sector in the center, and they've been really struggling in the last 5-6 years since COVID in particular. Just like households have been affected by cost of living, people's willingness to donate to charities and not-for-profits has run into several snags. A lot of organizations that pre-COVID were functioning well or even expanding their services are really finding themselves under strained budgets these days. Even StatsCan a couple of years ago released a survey that was looking at rates of volunteerism in society, and overall those were down post-COVID as well. So there's a hollowing out of the resources of that middle tier of services, and so it's creating a lot more desperation for people.
Is there a solution here?
I think the most important solution is that we can't sit around at our house and wait for somebody else to solve it. We can't just pay more money in taxes and somebody else does the hard work. The real solution to this really involves supporting more community-level organizations, nonprofit organizations, not necessarily just through donations of money, but through time and effort. So organizations, not to, toot anybody's particular horn, but ODSP might send you money, but Meals on Wheels meets you at the door. We need more of that. We need people who are willing to, help out in their community, whether they are, even just as simple as helping to clean up their community, participating in neighborhood watch programs, anything at all helps. And it's sort of been a problem of people feel depressed about the economy. They retreat a little bit into techno-dystopia instead of, retreating back into their communities and helping each other out. But that's the real solution. right? Is looking around and figuring out who needs help in your community and well, showing up.
I love
the work ourselves.
Yeah, and I love the way you look at that, because at that sort of middle tier level that you described a moment ago, those are the organizations that have eyes on, if you will. Forget the province or the feds. These nonprofits and charitable organizations can see much more clearly what's going on the ground, so to speak.
100%, and it's not to disparage the federal or provincial level programs. They do what they can, but like you said, they don't have sightlines on the problem. This has always been the challenge with top level solutions, and why it's so important to have community level organizations. Like even if you throw back to like 50 or 100 years ago, you have communities of faith going to see shut-ins and stuff like that. Just people organizing to go and bring food to people who can't otherwise get out or don't otherwise get out. And again, not batting for any particular community or any particular program or solution here, but we used to see more of that. The Statistics Canada tracks the rate of these sort of volunteerisms, and they're down. That said, if we want to really dig in the numbers, they also point out where the hollowing out has been happening. Seniors are volunteering at the same rates as before. Youth is still volunteering at the same rate as before, but the biggest hollowing out post-COVID was people 25 to 35. Their participation rates in volunteerism dropped off by as much, more than a third. And so, like, I hate to say, millennials, you got more problems of the world to solve. But it turned out that part of the resource problem was that some of the millennials just stopped showing up in the same way that they used to. So if there's anybody I can encourage to kind of lean back into it, who's like incrementally making a difference, I realize that 25 to 35 is a busy time. People have children and careers they're rearing in that period. But we miss you and we need you.
And perhaps even beyond an appeal like this that you and I are discussing this morning, William, there's an opportunity here, or perhaps even a message to communities to do some work to re-engage that demographic.
That's right. This is not necessarily just a call for one group to just start showing up. Maybe it's a matter of like meeting them as well where they are. But it goes to show you where the support used to come from, say 10 years ago, and where it isn't now. So it rather than necessarily blame storming, it at least gives us an idea of where we need to do the work.
Just slightly tangentially here, but just thinking on what you had said about sort of the top level approach. If we pay more taxes, this will be taken care of. Is that perhaps also a way of saying that when we hear governments talking about affordability measures or increasing affordability, we should take that with a bit of a grain of salt?
Governments can only do so much, right? Like I teach economics at the university, and there is a role for government in terms of regulatory environment and the like, but governments can't necessarily solve all of the problems we would like it to solve. It's never been able to do that. Throughout human history, the state always had a much smaller role than it sort of does today. But governments usually have an incentive to pretend they can solve all our problems so that we vote for them. And so then they paint themselves in this corner where everybody expects the government will solve everything. If I just pay my taxes and show up to vote, why do I have problems? It's a false bill of sale. We shouldn't have done that to people. We do need people's active participation in not just paying your taxes, but in like helping out with the community and making your community work.
William, it's a great conversation, and I'm so glad you could be a part of it. Thanks for being here today.
Happy to help out anytime, Mike. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye. William Huggins is an assistant professor in finance and business economics at McMaster University. Re-engaging that sort of lost demographic, and ourselves kind of taking a look in that mirror and asking what we can do to be a part of the solution. I couldn't help but think, as William was talking, about a young man I met last night at the KW Accessibility Golf Tournament dinner who spends his time, he's a Cambridge resident, and he literally cleans up the neighborhood on a daily basis. He's out there just picking up, and this is a younger man. He's not doing it in his retirement years. He's just out there cleaning up some of the litter, garbage, other dumping that's been going on in his neighborhood. There's somebody that's active and engaged. In this particular case, though, what it made me wonder is the lengths to which you have gone when times were that tough, when you were up against it financially. What steps did you take to remedy the situation? These statistics kind of were a gut punch to me. 15,000 fundraisers in this country right now, an 8% increase over last year. 15,000 fundraisers, simply people going on to GoFundMe to ask for help with their quote-unquote essential needs. And if we go back 6 years since you know when, 2020 and you know what, a 274% increase in the number of GoFundMe campaigns right here in Canada that mention either the cost of living, record high inflation, or shortages of affordable housing. 274% increase. And again, just in the first 5 months of this year, 15,000 people in Canada have gone onto the GoFundMe platform to seek help, to crowdfund for their essential needs. And we can all see the house of cards that this is built upon, right? Because it's not getting any less expensive for any of the rest of us. So if we've got 10 or 20 or 50 bucks to spare today to help a friend with their crowdfunding campaign, we might be the ones asking for the 10 or the 20 or the 50 bucks tomorrow, right? That's sort of the precarious nature of cost of living challenges that are hitting so many people. So bringing it back around, I describe this as a bit of a gut punch because I could never imagine, quite frankly, being so brave and or bold as to stick my neck out there and start a crowdfunding campaign so I could pay my rent or put food on the table. That's a pretty big, bold, very public step. I will share this with you. I'm not sure I have. I think I have before. This goes back, I don't know, it's less than 20 years. In and around, well, no, maybe, anyway, about 20 years, doesn't matter. Bottom line is this. I am full-time employed in radio, and I'm struggling. I had accrued debt early on because the money was really, really poor in radio. It was slightly less poor 20 or so years ago. I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact year, but when I found myself in this position, and I just said to myself, it's enough. Like, I'm spending way too much of my time, energy, and actual money on debt service. I'm not getting ahead. I need to make a change. And the hard part for me was wrapping my head around the idea that I was employed full-time with benefits, a salary, all like every 2 weeks the checks came in, and I'm like, it's just not working. It's just not working. So I took on extra work. One of those part-time jobs that I got was delivering newspapers. Like the modern day, not the... I like to joke that my first job in media was delivering newspapers. It's true. I was 10 years old, and I delivered the Kitchener Waterloo Record, as it was called, after school when I was in grade 4 and beyond. At this point, I'm into my 30s, and I started delivering the Waterloo Region Record again. It comes in the morning. So under cover of darkness, I would get up about 3:30. We would go over, those who were doing the deliveries, I met a truck dropping off the papers over at Stanley Park Mall. A bunch of us would go into the covered parking area there at Stanley Park Mall and assemble the papers how they needed to be assembled, whatever, put the inserts in. I don't know. Maybe I was doing it wrong, because let me tell you, this job, it did not, like the money just did not work out. But I needed extra money. It was a way I could get some. I could do it kind of quietly, even though I'm talking about it publicly today, because I didn't want people to know the situation that I was in. I'm a full-time radio employee, and under cover of darkness, I'm delivering newspapers because I needed extra money. And I did that for almost a year. And let me tell you, I hung on to the newspaper carrier's bag, those pouches sling over your shoulder, and It still had the newsprint kind of stains on it. And I hung on to it for years. I kept it hanging in the basement. So every time I saw it, I would be reminded of the situation I was in and what lengths I was willing to go to get out of it. I managed to get out of it, in part with help from that, but I don't mean to be critical of the organization. I recognize the business model, and to anybody who's still doing it today, but it just, the money did not add up at all for the time I was getting up. But I would get up at early in the morning, go out and deliver 100 whatever odd newspapers, and then go to my full-time job. And then in the evenings, I found another couple of nights a week I could fill in on some work with some old buddies of mine that ran a company. That's what I did. Would you start a GoFundMe? And I know jobs were different. You could find jobs a little more easily back then, perhaps. But what lengths have you gone to in order to make ends meet? When you were up against it financially, did you deliver some newspapers? Did you pick up an Uber shift or two these days? Starting crowdfunding? Did you start a GoFundMe campaign to meet your essential needs? What lengths have you gone to in order to get out of a financial hole? We'll take your calls after this on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
I think the most important solution is that we can't sit around at our house and wait for somebody else to solve it. We can't just pay more money in taxes and somebody else does the hard work. The real solution to this really involves supporting more community-level organizations, nonprofit organizations, not necessarily just through donations of money, but through time and effort. That's the real solution, is looking around and figuring out who needs help in your community and showing up.
That is William Huggins, who is an assistant professor of finance and business economics at McMaster University. He joins us to talk about what I think William and I agree on is a symptom of a much bigger problem, and that is the number of people in this country who have turned to crowdfunding in order to fund their quote-unquote essential needs. 15,000 GoFundMe campaigns have been started this year alone by Canadians looking for help making ends meet. Such is the weight, the burden of our increasing cost of living for some. It is remarkably concerning. The numbers kind of took my breath away. 15,000 GoFundMe campaigns begun this year alone, a 274% increase in such campaigns since 2020, referencing things like shortages of affordable housing, record high inflation, the cost of living, etc. Definitely a symptom of a much bigger problem. One way, of course, we could perhaps help offset some of that cost of living is to win a lot of money. I'm not necessarily condoning putting your life savings into the lottery, but a 50-50 raffle isn't the worst way in the world to go. Your odds are much better, and you're also helping out a charitable cause along the way. I'm speaking specifically of the Farwell for Hire 50-50 raffle in support of cystic fibrosis research. And if you missed it earlier today, following a number of good-natured jabs I got at an event last evening, I have decided to up the ante, so to speak. Our jackpot in the Farwell for Hire 50-50 raffle right now is just over $104,000. It's a take-home prize of more than $52,000. And I have pledged to eat increasingly hot chicken wings while still trying to host the show if the jackpot reached a certain amount. But thanks to the good-natured jabs I took last night, I've decided to sweeten that pot a little bit. I will wear the jersey of the team that shall not be named while eating those increasingly hot chicken wings if the jackpot reaches $150,000 or $75,000 take home. And if you want to go as far as we went last year to over $200,000 in that jackpot, a $100,000 plus take home, I'll cheer for the team that shall not be named for the entirety of the next NHL season. You can mention the team on the air. A lot of you were asking about it last night. If that is your wish, I will do it, but I will only do it for charity. It's our final week of the Farwell for Hire 50-50. I will get deeply invested in the team that shall not be named if you get the jackpot that high. You can buy tickets right now at cf5050.ca. An update from the 570 News Centre, and then let's meet and remember the Kitchener Kieswetters on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Well, I am very excited to be having this next conversation here on the show. It's something that I should have thought of myself, but I got an email that pointed me in the right direction. And then I felt as sheepish as I did because I knew of the existence of this team because my late great friend Don Cameron was their coach for a number of years. But you may recall on this show, we've been talking quite a bit recently about fastball in this community. And I was at an event last week which remembered Glenn Mazer, a tremendous supporter and manager involved in fastball in this community. We had lots of conversations about our history of men's fastball. And then I got an email from a gentleman by the name of Peter Moyer. And he says, there's another KW fastball story from the 60s and 70s that many Kitchenerites will recall. The Kitchener Kieswetters, women's fastball whose home was at the great Woodside Ball Diamond. As a Kitchener boy, I would spend lots of time at Woodside as my mom was the Kieswetters catcher. Peter, thank you for the email. And look at that. Loie Moyer, Peter's mom, joins me in studio this morning. Hello, Loie.
Hi.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Along with Loie, we have Jan Stroh, another former Kitchener Kieswetter. Hello, Jan.
Hi, Mike. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It was nice to see you at the Glenn Mazer event last week.
It was nice to talk to you.
Yeah, it was. It was. Lots of fastball memories.
Oh, God.
Certainly.
I hope we got some good ones.
I'll bet you do. I'll bet you do. And Lynn Hyde is with us as well, another former Kitchener Kieswetter. Good morning, Lynn.
Good morning, Mike.
Loie, let me start with you. Peter sends this email reminding me the women's fastball and our Kitchener Kieswetters all those decades ago. How did you start in the game?
Actually, I'm going to pass it on to Janny because she's got that information. And so she'll tell you, and then I'm telling you about Luann Izzard.
Oh, wow. I love it. I love it. Okay, Janny, give me the history lesson.
So I got the mic.
You got the mic.
Well, I played with Door Sports along with Yvonne Denemy. And in 1964, after that year, Orville Dorsch decided that he was retiring. So that left us without a coach and manager and sponsor. So Yvonne Denemy was very instrumental in approaching the Kieswetters to see if they would sponsor our team. And luckily, they said yes. And from then on, we were known as the Kitchener Kieswetters. In 65, we just played basically exhibition games and many tournaments, any tournament we could get into because we wanted to qualify for the Women's Fastball League. So in 1966, we qualified for the to play in the Women's Fastball League, and from then on, it was get-go. Bruce Fertney was the manager at that time, and his wife, Noreen, came to play with us, which was a bonus. She was a pitcher. And Linny and Loie joined the team then. They were all from the St. Mary's Pullets that I guess they folded, the St. Mary's Pullets, and that's why you three ended up coming. Yeah.
I moved to Kitchener.
Yeah.
We recruited you, Loie. We needed a good catcher for our Kieswetters, eh?
Darn right.
So, Loie, tell me a little more about Luann Izzard.
Well, Luann came with her parents from Woodstock, and she and her sister played second, and Luann was the pitcher, and she was 15 years old. And at that point, I was 29 years old. And so her dad, especially maybe her mom, said, you stick with Loie and let her guide you through pitching for the Kieswetters. And so at that point, she had a fastball and a slow pitch. And I think she developed other pitches as she went along. But at the beginning, that's what she had. And her strength was wherever I put my glove, she hit it. She was tremendous. And I really appreciated working with her because she listened to me.
Listen, we know you're always supposed to listen to your catcher, right? Otherwise,
Exactly.
the catcher. I know.
Exactly.
Jan, didn't we hear a similar story from Vince Denemy the other week at the Glen Mazer event, right? He was the catcher. He said, I just had to put my glove there and the pitcher would hit it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Dougie Neal and Hodgkiss, yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Lynn, how did you get involved with all of this?
Well, I was from Shakespeare, and I was a country girl, and we had a one-room school, and from there I got to play with the boys because there wasn't enough boys to play, so my sisters and I played in the team, and then I went to Severnville and caught on with the junior team there, and then I ran into a health problem. I had to have spinal fusion, so I was on the DL for a couple of years. And then I healed well, and I went to St. Mary's, and fortunately I caught on there as a junior team, and then played with the Pullets for a couple of years until they folded. And then when they folded, Bruce asked me to come down to Kitchener, and that's when the Kieswetters were born. So I guess I was fortunate, first of all, to even play sports after the surgery I had. And yeah, I guess the baseball gods were looking after me.
Loie, why was Luann Izzard so important to you?
Because she was young, because I knew her dad put a lot of emphasis on me as her catcher, and Luann and I just gelled. We really did. And I want to say that when we went out west and won the Canadian Championship, Luann was picked the player of the tournament, and the medal she got, she gave to me. And it still is emotional for me because I just really appreciated that she thought that much of me as her catcher, and we worked as a unit. We really did. And she was a great girl.
Jan, I mentioned at the outset all the talk we've been doing on the show about fastball, and it was all focused on the men's teams. You were at that same event the other week again, yes, in memory of Glen Mazer, and it was all about men's fastball. This is somewhat unique. There weren't as many, obviously, teams, especially we're talking back in the 60s and 70s here. Mm-hmm. What was the level of competition like for women's fastball?
Oh, it was very fierce. There was a lot of good ball players, especially in the Toronto area. We even went as far as Fort Erie, Tonawanda, across the bridge in the States. And there was another Buffalo team that were in the league. Milverton had a very strong young team. So it was very, very competitive. Anybody could win at any given time. And we were just lucky that we did.
Well, we did. That's right. Because Loie just mentioned that championship out in British Columbia, were you?
No, we were in Calgary.
Calgary, okay.
Yeah. We won the Canadians in 71 and the Ontario and Canadians in 75. So it was great. Just great to be on such a championship team. And I think Don Cameron, like I mentioned before, was coaching in 75. And he was very lucky. And I bet you he thought he was over the moon with the talent that he got to coach in 75 Canadians. We had a very strong defensive team. Also, we were very strong offensively. We had a good bunch of veterans that mixed very well with the rookies that we brought up. There was 4 Civitans that were brought up in 75. Susie Shear,
Shirley Kirk,
Kathy Helm, Sharon Nauman. And then we were very fortunate to get a pitcher to complement Luann from the Toronto area, who had played several years with the Rebustus Breakettes, Diane Warner. And then we qualified for the Canadians by winning the Ontarios. We were allowed to pick up 2 extra players, so we picked up another pitcher, Doris Coltis from Milverton, and Marilyn McComb, also from the Milverton team. She was infielder. She was a great hitter. So everybody that year in 75, I called that the dream team, because everybody contributed to the big win.
I love the memories of those names as they come back to you like that. I hope my buddy Don Cameron was good to you as a coach.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Good. I have to check on
Absolutely.
that. Of course
Absolutely.
he was. Of course he was.
Yeah.
Lynn, where did you find the time as young women back in the 60s and 70s with so many other demands? Where did you find the time to develop into high-level fastball players?
It was a passion. I mean, if you want to do something bad enough, you always find time. And it just came natural because of the fact that I think the level that we were fortunate enough to play in, it was exciting going to the ballpark. And then especially after we won the 71, we were chosen to represent Canada in Italy at an intercontinental tournament. And from that tournament, they were deciding whether softball, fastball, however you want to call it, was going to be in the Olympics. So that tournament decided where the caliber of fastball was. And the Olympics, the Summer Olympics were in Montreal, but it didn't go through them. But the next year, 77, it was classified, per se, as an Olympic event. But it never did get in the Olympics, I don't think, until 96. But at that tournament, just representing Canada, we were a little bit disappointed the fact that, to start off with, we played in a soccer field, which wasn't great. And our Norma Wood, that was one of our best ball players, she broke her ankle sliding into a base at an exhibition game before it even started. But we did manage to play well. There was teams that didn't show up, which was unfortunate. So the competition that was there was okay, but it wasn't. There should have been more teams there. And we ended up winning the silver medal, and we were playing of course, the Ray Bestis team that was the world champions at the time. And it was their pitching, I think, that was they were so big and strong. And on a regular basis, our team was not, we didn't have that type of pitching, again, on a regular basis. So, we had to play good defensive ball. So coming in with a silver medal from there, I think we represented our country well, province well, Kitchener, Canada, and it was very, very nice to be able to have Canada on the back of your shirts and say, geez, you know what, we're doing something right here. So that part was pretty exciting.
I'm sure that it was. Loie, what is some of your fondest memories of playing with the Kieswetters?
I loved every moment that I was on the field. I had 3 children, and my husband was good enough that he looked after the kids. I drove out the lane about 5:30 to go to Woodside Park, then head off to North Tonawanda, Buffalo, Fort Erie. Wouldn't get home till 2 in the morning. But it was part of me. I loved the game. My dad had been a coach in St. Mary's, and so I inherited a love for the game. And I can't say there is any moment that outshone any other, because I loved every moment I was there.
We're going to have to make sure, much like we did with the men's fastball group when they were here, we're going to have to do another one of these at some point if you lovely ladies would be up to it, because this is great. I just love hearing the stories and reflecting on the Kitchener Kieswetters history. Can we do it again sometime?
Yes.
Can I just mention something? Loie Moyer is being inducted into the St. Mary's Baseball Hall of Fame this year, and I think it's a great honor. Well deserved. Well deserved.
And now we have a reason, Jan, to bring you all back after that induction happens, okay?
That's in November, I believe.
Thank you.
You're up, in November.
I believe, Loie,
I got
right?
it, Lynn.
Okay. Thank you.
When is it, Loie?
November the 7th.
November. I'm making a note right now. Wonderful. Kitchener Kieswetters, you did our city proud, and you continue to do so. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Loie Moyer going into the St. Mary's Hall of Fame for her fastball career. Jan Stroh, Lynn Hyde with us on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Time for the local business spotlight on 570 News Radio.
And we focused this morning on the Waterloo Region Community Foundation. Its president and CEO, Eric Avner, joins me. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Glad to hear that. Now, you and I have had the chance on a segment just like this to talk in the past about the Vital Signs report on social infrastructure, but now you have introduced Vital Ideas, and this first report is about places. Can you tell me more about Vital Ideas and also why places?
Sure. And yeah, thanks again for having me back. I mean, when we published that Vital Signs report on social infrastructure last fall, something pretty interesting happened. We kept talking about it out in the community and giving presentations, and we did a podcast about it. People kept asking us to go deeper on certain themes, and they had ideas or questions. We just couldn't handle it all in one report. So Vital Ideas is a response to that. So it's a series of focus reports that allows us to look more at specific themes in more depth with new lenses, voices, experiences, and perspectives. And these aren't to create more solutions or to prescribe solutions, but rather we want to ask better questions and share knowledge. But back to the question, like why places? Why places first? And I think that's really because that's where the community kept warning us. We kept hearing over and over again about the need to create more connection in the region, but that went to the spaces and those places where connection actually happens or fails to happen. And as we grow and diversify as a community, those physical and social environments, they matter a lot. They shape how we encounter one another, how we build relationships, how we feel a sense of belonging. We just want to dig more into that.
So you worked with Dr. Troy Glover from the University of Waterloo in the creation of this report. What stands out for you, Eric, from the information that's now being shared?
There was a lot in that report. And it's not that long of a report, but it has a lot in there. I guess the first part that struck me was that connection requires more than proximity. And you can put a bunch of people in the same space, but you don't automatically create connection that way. I mean, we could be at the same coffee shop, the music festival, or the same, Rangers championship celebration and never really encounter each other. Being there together, it creates possibility, but not really belonging. So what Troy helped me understand, and the report tries to make it clear, was that a space becomes a place when people return to it, when they interact with it, when they make it meaningful. So you think of like something like Kitchener Market on a Saturday morning, where you have students there and you have newcomers to Canada and you have families who've lived there for decades, and they're all layered into something that works like a civic living room. It doesn't happen by accident. So what Troy tells us was that for spaces to become places like that, they really need to combine uses that draw a wider mix of people, and they need to be generally accessible for everyone, regardless of income or ability or postal code or culture, and they need to be designed for repetition, because that's when communication or that's when connection can actually happen, when it accumulates over time. The last part is probably the most critical. When people keep coming back day after day, week after week, the strangers become more familiar. They become part of that social landscape, and that's when you start feeling like you belong.
So if I wanted to get involved and take action to improve social infrastructure here in Waterloo Region, what are some things that I could do?
Well, the report is pretty interesting because it has a bunch of practical stuff in there, ideas. And what I love about it is they're not all big or expensive. And some of the most powerful things are actually generally small. You could start by just returning regularly to the same local place, whether that's a cafe or a market or a park. That familiarity builds through repeated presence. And even just a nod or a brief conversation with somebody, that starts this moving ahead. The other thing you could do, you could bring something shareable into a public space, an extra chair, a board game, some sidewalk chalk. Those small gestures have a funny way of inviting more interaction. And if you want to go a bit further, people can start like creating a simple neighborhood tradition, a driveway potluck, a courtyard coffee hour, maybe a recurring shared meal in a backyard. It just that repetition is what we're after, and that's what really transforms these spaces into places. There's plenty of ideas, both in that the Vital Ideas report that we just came out with, and the Vital Signs from last fall. Both of those are available on our website, which is wrcf.ca/vital-signs. It's all there. And I think ultimately the report just makes the case that the future of the region's social fabric, it depends less on really what we build and more on how we bring people together within it. I mean, that's something we can all take part in.
I love the conversation that you've started and the work that the Community Foundation continues to do. Eric, thanks so much for being with us on the show today.
My pleasure, Mike. Have a great afternoon.
Yeah, Eric Avner, President and CEO at the Waterloo Region Community Foundation. Check out the Vital Ideas report for yourself at wrcf.ca.
The local business spotlight, where your business comes first. 570 News Radio.
Take out the papers and the trash, or you don't get no spending cash. If you don't scrub that kitchen floor, you ain't gonna rock and roll no more. Yakety yak.
Don't talk back.
Just finish cleaning up your room. Let's see that dust fly with that broom. Get all that garbage out of sight, or you don't go out Friday night.
Don't talk back.
Well, I love what happens when we talk about fastball on this show. We spent a few shows over a number of weeks devoting segments to the rich history of men's fastball in this community, and we were just treated to the opportunity to hear from Loie Moyer, Jan Stroh, and Lynn Hyde, former members of the Kitchener Kieswetters Women's Fastball Club, which also became national champions, silver medalists in other tournaments, really did our city proud, and represent the rich history of women's fastball in the community. The emails just come flooding in. My husband, Kevin, is a former manager of the fastball ladies team. My sister played for the Tillsonburg Norwich Jets back in the day. I played with Jan Stroh's husband back in the day, etc. On go the emails that came in to Mike at 570news.com following the segment. And in case you missed it, indeed, our very own Loie Moyer will be inducted into the Town of St. Mary's Sports Wall of Fame coming up in November. We will bring those ladies back and share more Kitchener Kieswetters memories on the show in the weeks and months ahead, because we love our hockey in this town, and I understand why. I've often talked about the rich history of boxing in this community, and that was led by Artie Beam as one of the real long-standing legendary coaches in this community, and the likes of Lennox Lewis and the Vanderpools and Mandy Bujold have come out of that school of boxing in this community, which still continues to thrive, our Waterloo Region Boxing Academy. And then, of course, we've got what happened on the Diamond as well. Lots of great sporting history in this community, and what a treat to chat with Lynn and Jan and Loie on the show today. I am not surprised at all, if I'm being honest with you, which is the only way I know how to be. But our Farwell for Hire 50-50 jackpot has really taken off today. It is up more than $1,000 already since we started the show. And when we started the show, I shared with you about my opportunity last night to be at the golf tournament with KW Access Ability, the local organization that accesses our abilities. And I took some good-natured ribbing last night from not only the executive director of KW Access Ability, Edward Ferruzel, but others at the tournament dinner who were saying, listen, Farwell, last year you said that you would do anything for your charity, and that included wearing a jersey. I think I had a jersey, a hat, and a scarf on of the team that shall not be named. And they're like, what's the problem this year? You don't care as much about your charity? So I said, listen, here's the deal. Today marks 1 week, okay? It's 1 week until our Farwell for Hire fundraiser and our 50-50 wrap up. Next Tuesday, noon, we're making the draw of the winning number in the Farwell for Hire 50-50 raffle. We'll continue fundraising right through the rest of the day, but the 50-50 raffle wraps up about exactly 168 hours 1 week from now. And so I decided to up the ante based on the good-natured ribbing I took last night about the team that shall not be named. And if that's what it's going to take, then that's what I will do. So I have already pledged to do live on the show with my friends from Ginger Goat Hot Sauce and Morty's Pub, eating increasingly hot chicken wings while still trying to host the show. It's like that Hot Ones YouTube show where the guest is being interviewed while eating the hot chicken wings. Well, I'm going to try to keep hosting the show while I eat these increasingly hot chicken wings being fed to me by Chris at Ginger Goat. And based on last night, I said, I'll up the ante, but you have to increase then what you're doing here. I will do the Hot Ones challenge while wearing a jersey of the team that shall not be named. But you have to get the jackpot in the 50-50 raffle to $150,000 or a take home of $75,000. And then you can have both. You can have your chicken wings, I'll eat them and wear the jersey too. And if you can get the jackpot as high, again, we've got 1 week left, so we'll just shoot for the moon here. If we get as high as we got last year, and you know these things always pick up steam in the final days. Last year, we awarded more than $121,000. So the jackpot was more than $240,000. If we get the jackpot up to $200,000, take-home prize of $100,000, I will go beyond just eating the wings and wearing the jersey, which I will do along the way. But if it gets to $200,000, the team that shall not be named will be named on the show. You'll have free reign throughout the entire of the next NHL season, and I'm going to join you in cheering for that team. That's how much this charitable cause means to me. And I got a lot of shots taken at me last night. So if you'd like to put your raffle money where your mouth is, you fans of the team that shall not be named, the opportunity exists for you. And by the way, we're giving away $2,500 cash from TLC Pet Food on Friday as an early bird prize. You could win that if you get your tickets before Friday, and you could earn the opportunity to see me wear the jersey and even join you on the bandwagon of that team through the entire next year. I will set aside my Leafs and join you with the team that shall not be named. We'll talk about them on the air. Oh, it's going to be a great time, isn't it? But the jackpot has to go up to $200,000 first, or a $100,000 take home. From the moment I mentioned this morning, the jackpot has been moving. I just hit refresh. There it went again. So I get it. I get what you want. I'm willing to put my Leafs love on the line for my charity, okay? You can get tickets at cf5050.ca, cf5050.ca. Jackpot gets to $150,000, take home of $75,000. I wear the jersey while eating the chicken wings. Jackpot gets to $200,000, take home $100,000. I cheer for the team with you next season. It's up to you. cf5050.ca and the $2,500 early bird prize from TLC Pet Food. You could win that too. You get all the winning, and I'm going to cheer for your team. Look at the smile on my face right now. Can you hear the smile on my face? I'm so excited to maybe cheer for your team next year. It's up to you. But that's what I'm putting out there. We all know where the team that shall not be named plays. And all kidding aside, I really want to see this raffle go, and I want to raise lots of money for cystic fibrosis research. I really do. So cf5050.ca. But we know the story out of Montreal right now is just awful, and the existence of this manifesto. And you don't have to look back very far to the first time that we talked about this, right? An OPP officer who used to be a bylaw officer in Kitchener, run down by the driver of a vehicle up in northern Ontario. Just days after that, a police officer in Toronto shot dead. They're not dead, but a couple of RCMP officers were shot and injured in Melville, Saskatchewan the other day. The man charged in that case is charged with attempted murder. 2 RCMP officers shot non-fatally, and now we have the officer in Montreal shot fatally. It's a little bit too much of a coincidence from where I'm sitting. I don't know what might be going on with our attitudes towards police right now, but this is something that is sounding some alarm bells, at least in the back of my mind. 3 occasions where officers are now dead in the line of duty in just, the past week, 10 days or so. 2 other RCMP officers shot, albeit non-fatally. What do you make of the state of policing, the danger that exists in the profession? Why might we be in a situation like this? Or am I making too much out of it? I don't know, but it's certainly bothering me. If you'd like to talk about it, the Talkback Hour is open for those kinds of conversations. What do you make of what's going on with our attitudes towards police and policing? What might be contributing to this rash of police shootings, the existence of this manifesto, or anything else you want to bring to the table during the Talkback Hour, which is now underway here on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. The Talkback Hour happens every day from noon until 1, allowing you the opportunity to weigh in on the issues of the day or tell us what you think should be the issue of the day. Let's get to the phones. Randy is with us. Farwell's Force, member number 311. Good afternoon, Randy.
Hey there, Mike. Good job with Farwell Hire this year. One of the things I was thinking you could do to sweeten that pot just a little bit more is the Toronto Maple Leafs will be the team that shall not be named all next year.
Oh, my, Randy, what? Listen, settled. Okay, fine. But that for what? 210,000 in the jackpot.
Let's do it.
Okay, fine. Well, you're not. Why do you, Randy? You're a member of Farwell's Force in good standing. Why you want to be this way to me?
I don't want to be this way. I want to see you make as much money on your event as you can.
Oh yeah, I see what you did there. Okay, fine. 210,000 in the jackpot, 105,000 take home, and next hockey season, not only will I be cheering for the team that shall not be named, but the Toronto Maple Leafs will become the team that shall not be named.
Team that shall not be named. Sounds like a plan.
You are a dastardly individual, sir.
Have a good day, Mike.
Thanks, Randy. You too. Good to hear from you today. Listen, it struck a chord last night. I could tell by talking to you at the KW Accessibility golf event that you thought I was wimping out this year. I will put everything on the line for this charity. That's how much it means to me. So, again, it's up to you. Next season, the team that shall not be named will be the Toronto Maple Leafs. I can still say it now because the jackpot is under 105,000. If the jackpot doubles before we award the prize next week to 210,000 or more, take-home prize of 105,000 or more, then the Toronto Maple Leafs will become the team that shall not be named, and I will cheer for the team that shall not be named next season right along with you. It seems that fans of that team feel as though this is the direction we need to go. I guess we'll find out how many fans of that team there are, or if you think I'm full of it or will actually follow through. Tickets anytime at cf5050.ca, cf5050.ca. George, George, good afternoon. You're on Talkback.
Good afternoon, Mike. How you doing there?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Good. Mike, you must have really loved your sisters for doing this.
George, I don't think I could put into words how much I loved those girls. You betcha.
I can imagine. You know what would be really cool? If you could get Arbor Jackeye, if it gets over 200,000, get them on your show, talk to them. That would be a real treat to listen to hear from Arbor Jackeye.
George, it's a great idea. And, of course, Arbor being a former Kitchener Ranger, I might be able to make that work. So I won't promise that because I don't have the direct line, but certainly something I could work on. You know, speaking of Arbor, the former Ranger who plays now for the team that shall not be named, and they will remain the team that shall not be named until the jackpot gets, well, to $200,000. And it went up, by the way, another $200 just in the time that Randy and I were talking. Watch, if I hit refresh again, watch it go up. Yep, there it went, just up another $25. I see what's happening here. That's fine. I'm watching it before my eyes. Jackpot now $105,130. Take-home prize $52,565. If the jackpot gets to 150, take home 75. The Hot Ones challenge that I already promised gets a little sweeter, for you anyway, because I will wear a jersey of the team that shall not be named. And I'm telling you this right now. I'm wearing my beloved's jersey, and I'm going to wipe my dirty face with the sleeve. That's what I'm going to do, because I still really don't like that team. I was asked last night where this comes from. I am 55 years old, okay? When I was younger, this rivalry, like in today's 32-team NHL, you might not understand it fully. When I was a kid, this rivalry was everything. And I mean everything. On Saturdays, when the Leafs were playing the team that shall not be named, I was anxious all day for the big game that night. And more often than not, my team lost. So it made me dislike your team even more. And I had friends in high school who were big fans of that team, and they just 24 Stanley Cups, all the time. Oh my gosh. One of those, in air quotes, friends, I hardly see anymore. He lives in Ottawa with his family. He's been gone for decades, and he still sends me an email every season when the Leafs are eliminated from the playoffs to rub it in. And he's a fan of the team that shall not be named. This is how deep it goes for me. I mean it when I say, and I told Jerry this last night. He was the guy wondering where this all comes from. Look, the team that shall not be named, I can admit that they had a nice playoff run and they play a pretty good brand of hockey. I will admit that. But never will I ever, well, I can't say that now. I was about to say never will I ever cheer for them. The jackpot has to get up to $200,000 first. And then I will allow you to say the team that shall not be named on the show, and I will join you in cheering for them next season. And according to Randy, if we increase that even more to $210,000 in the jackpot and to $105,000 on the take-home prize, you're getting $105,000, and the Leafs will become the team that shall not be named. I hit refresh again. It's up another $150. What are you honestly doing to me? This jackpot's up almost $2,000 today. It's up about 1,000 or just about 1,000 in this half hour so far. Ridiculous. You're all a bunch of ridiculous people. What do you want, Kyle?
Hey, what would it take? Okay, first of all, you might want to bite your tongue, because if you watch the team that shall not be named next season, you might become a lifelong fan,
Never. Russell sent me an email, said I should cheer for them because then they'll lose too. Ha! Take that.
Oh, here we go.
Take that.
What would it take for you just to never say the Toronto Maple Leafs ever again on your show?
Never?
Yeah, never. I want to see how high we get this jackpot.
Oh, come on. Never.
No, seriously.
Kyle,
I'll sell my house. I will sell my house and donate the money and live on a tent down by the river, like Chris Farley there,
Yeah, sure.
So,
I couldn't get you to do. I'm a man of my word. I'm going to do this. Like, if it gets to 210,000 and we're halfway there, we're going to make the Leafs the team that shall not be named for an entire season of hockey. That's a lot. You're asking me to never say the Leafs name on the show again?
While you're eating a raisin butter tart.
Oh, my gosh.
Think about it, Mike. Just think about it. You never know, right? Because I'm going right now home. I'm going right now after work today, and my 5.5 and we're going to match each other to see what we're going to donate to get this going. So I would love. I mean, as a fan of the team that shall not be named, it would nothing make me more happy than never hearing the Toronto Maple Leafs ever again on this radio station.
I can believe that. That's fair. That's a fair comment from you. I get it.
All right, sounds good, Mike. You enjoy. I can't keep refreshing that, buddy. I can't wait to hear how high it goes.
All
Thanks
right,
a lot, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. Good to hear from you. That's a big one. I hit refresh. It's up another $110. Like, this is madness. It is absolute madness. I completely understand what's going on here. Never saying the Toronto Maple Leafs on the show again, like ever. I might have to stand on a cure for that one to happen. But listen, I am a man of my word, and my word is the jackpot reaches $150K $75,000 take home. I add wearing the jersey of the team that shall not be named to my Hot Ones challenge. Jackpot gets to $200,000, $100,000 take home. The team that shall not be named gets named all through next season, and I join you in cheering for them. And the jackpot gets to 210, take home of 105. The Leafs become the team that shall not be named for the entirety of next season. That's pretty good. I'm putting myself out there on that one. Plus, I'm offering you a $2,500. Well, TLC Pet Food in New Hamburg is offering you $2,500 cash Friday at noon if you get your tickets before then. CF5050.ca. Talkback continues on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Can I just say something in all seriosity here for a moment? And I totally make up the word seriosity. I made it. I can't remember how long ago I made that one up, but I use it once in a while. In all seriosity, in all seriousness, and I mean this in the nicest possible way to anyone in Kingston opposing the additional stop being proposed for high-speed rail in Canada. There is no point in opposing something that will never happen. Save your energy. Go take a walk. Like, honestly, that would be like me sitting here today saying I'm opposed to a new Highway 7 between Kitchener and Guelph, or I'm opposed to all-day two-way GO train service, because neither of those things is going to happen ever. So why waste your time being opposed to it? All high-speed rail is in this country is an excuse to spend billions of dollars on feasibility studies that are just that, feasibility studies. They hire people, whatever, forget it. Just Kingston, I love you. The Limestone City, baby. Save your breath. Also, hiring Mike Babcock has got to be the dumbest thing any NHL team could do. Like the dumbest thing. That's ridiculous. And on the most serious note, as Matt again mentioned in that update from the 570 News Center, there are alarm bells going off in the back of my mind about the women and men in uniform policing this country and the targets that seem to be on them right now. I'm not trying to make anybody nervous. I'm sure people who are in the profession are already keenly aware of the 3 police officer deaths in a very short period of time and the manifesto uncovered in the Montreal case, the most recent police shooting. But this is deeply concerning stuff. And our jackpot in the Farwell for Hire 50/50 is now over $106,000. It's up about $2,000 since we started the Talkback Hour together. Apparently, you want to see me suffer, not by eating hot chicken wings, but by wearing gear of the team that shall not be named or cheering for the team that shall not be named. Back to the phones on Talkback for Grant. Good afternoon, Grant.
Wow. Holy crow, you today.
I know, me today. Why does everybody hate me today, Grant? Why?
You might as well not say Talkback Hour today, because you were on it for a whole half hour and one caller, Mr. Kyle.
No, then Randy.
Alrighty.
Well, now it's your turn, Grant.
So do I get a whole half hour?
Depends. How much do you have to say?
I'm just testing you, my friend. And I haven't asked you this for a while. Have you found a counselor yet for your overall mental health? And have you done any meditation? Why not do meditation during commercial time? Do a 1-minute meditation. And what else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, how's your shoulder doing? Is it back to par? And yeah, you should really think about your mental health, and do some meditation, because many years ago you lost a loved one, and it's good to be good to your body. And we like Mike, even though he goes on and on today for a whole half hour. Yeah, I found it hilarious. Anyways, that's it, Mr. Mike.
All right, Mr. Grant, thank you. 1 minute and 47 seconds. Grant asked if he could have the whole half hour. I said it depends on how much he has to say. He had 1 minute and 47 seconds of things to say. I would just like to respond by saying thank you sincerely for your concern for my overall well-being. That is incredibly kind of you. I am pleased to report that after, I don't remember how many, 5, 6, whatever number of physiotherapy sessions, my shoulder is tickety-boo. It feels great. It did not feel great for me to go to physiotherapy, not because they put my shoulder in any sort of discomfort. I'm just not good at that. I am a very bad patient. This is me acknowledging my shortcomings in this regard. I do not like lying around, having somebody work on me and knead the things that need kneading and twist the things that need twisting. It's not my cup of tea. I'm not a sitter or a liar. I mean, a lay downer. I'm not a liar either. I will always be honest with you. It's not my thing. I'm not good at it, but I appreciate so much, and I learned a ton. These young people at SOS Physiotherapy that worked on me were incredible. They were incredible. I'm like, I feel good about the future. So many of them doing work terms from the University of Waterloo. I'm like, yes, go black, go gold, let's go, baby. It was great. It was great. As far as my mental well-being, I will tell you this. First of all, no, the direct answer to the question, have I found a counselor? Have I looked for one? No. Am I opposed to counseling? Also, no. My biggest problem is tied into what else Grant was talking about. Take time for yourself. Meditate. Move your body. I know, Grant, because we have these conversations on the show all the time. I know what I'm supposed to be doing, and I don't do it because I have a sickness that is... do you know what I do? I do stuff. I am in constant motion. I work all the time. I know that I need to not do that, but I don't not do that, if you'll forgive the double negative. So that is currently one of my biggest challenges, is finding the switch. It must be somewhere buried in beneath my fat belly that says to me it's okay to stop. But I haven't found that switch. And I don't know why. This is a problem that I could probably talk to a counselor about. Anyway, I don't need to air the rest of my problems to you. I did lose a loved one a couple of years ago. My son, as you probably know, died by suicide. His birthday would have been yesterday. Father's Day was Sunday. How are my past 48 hours or so going? Not ideal. Not ideal, but we're going to keep working on that. And we're going to keep getting up every day and facing the day and engaging in conversations with you. Because that's what we do on this show, especially during the Talkback Hour. And Mark is next. Good afternoon, Mark.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, Mark.
Mike, what if the Leafs go deep into the playoffs and happen to win the Stanley Cup? Then what?
You know, it's funny you should say that, Mark, because during the 12:30 news update with Matt Hutchison, after I had just gotten off the phone with Kyle and he's asking me how much further I will go, I thought about that very thing. I thought, wouldn't it be just my luck that the Farwell for Hire 50-50 jackpot gets up over $200,000 and then I have to honor my commitment and cheer for the team that shall not be named next year, and then my team actually wins
Mike,
the Stanley Cup.
I'll say it while I can.
Okay.
Go Leafs, go.
Thanks, Mark. Good to hear from you today. That's if the jackpot gets to $210,000. $210,000. And then we will make the Leafs the team that shall not be named next year. The jackpot, every time I hit refresh on my computer, it goes up again. CF5050.ca is the place to get your tickets. The jackpot is worth more than $106,000 now. It's up more than $3,000 since we started the day. Take-home prize, $53,000. It's a pretty good take-home prize. And there's an early bird prize of $2,500 cash awarded to you from TLC Pet Food on Friday if you have your tickets before Friday at noon. Paul is next on Talkback. Good afternoon, Paul. Oh, Paul, turn down your radio, Paul. Paul. Paul is next. Oh, you know, one of my least favorite things is one of my least favorite things, is because it's 2026. I grew up listening to talk radio. Every time you call a radio station, we used to hear, you got to turn your radio down in the background. I thought we were done with that. Let's see if Paul's turned it down.
Hey, Mikey, how you doing today?
Oh, Paul, you turned down your radio. What are you doing, you muckety-muck?
Anyhow, congratulations on your shoulder. I think that's great.
Thank you.
Anyhow, what do we do about jack wagons that in the city of Waterloo drive around with they're supposed to be our best friend, but their dog in the back of a pickup truck?
That's an interesting question. I mean, I think sometimes, don't the dogs like having the wind in their face?
Yeah, but I mean, he was in the actual box of the window.
I get it. I don't think, I'm with you, Paul. I don't think that's a cool way to do it at all.
No, that was right in the heart of the city last Thursday, and it's bugged me ever since because, animals are precious, and I hope this guy's listening to maybe clue in what he did.
Paul, great point. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, have a great one.
You too. Good to hear from you today. Those are the little reminders that I like to hear from time to time. In fact, I got a similar reminder from Regional Police. They put out a fun little video on their social media last week, I think it was, and it was trying to remind us what is a 911 call and what is not a 911 call. And I learned that if you see a pet in a hot car, it is a 911 call. I was leaving work, I don't know, a month or so, recently enough, and I saw a dog in a car on a hot sunny day, and the car was all closed up. It was only parked a few cars from mine, and I honestly froze. Well, first of all, I'm like, do I break into this car? Because I love dogs. I love them. This dog was barking away. I'm like, you should not be in there, you poor dog. But then I thought, okay, I'll just do the right thing. But I couldn't remember if it was a 911 call or not. So whilst I was in the process of trying to find out which number I phone the people who owned the vehicle and presumably were in charge of the dog came back. And I scolded them good. I said, I was just about to call the police, we were only gone for this and we have the auto. And I said, no, I don't care. I don't care. That dog should not be in that car. Shame on you. I actually said that to another person's face. I said, shame on you. But so anyway, it's a 911 call. If you see a pet in a hot car, it is a 911 call. Please make it. And better yet, how about we just don't do that to our pets? And I'm kind of with Paul on this one too. I want my dog to have the best life. I want my dog to enjoy all of the things in this life. Even if she loved riding in the box. Well, I wouldn't find out if she loved riding in the box of the pickup truck because I wouldn't put her in there. So maybe we should consider that so that our best friends, which is what we refer to dogs as being, remain our best friends, living and things like that. Don't drive around with your dog in the box of your pickup truck. Okay. This is the Talkback Hour on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Well played, Brian. Very well played. Brian sends me an email to mike@570news.com. In reply to what would you do if the Leafs have a long playoff run and they win the cup? You turn off your PlayStation. Very funny, Brian. You should take that on the road. You're a funny guy. Try the veal. I'll come and see your stand-up show. That's actually a really good one. I like that one. That would be my luck, though, that I make the pledge to spend a season cheering for the team that shall not be named, and then my actual favorite team, the Toronto Maple Leafs, finally does the thing that I've been waiting my whole life for them to do. That would just be my luck. Jackpot now $106,235. Tickets at cf5050.ca. If it gets to $150,000, take home of $75,000, I wear a jersey of the team that shall not be named. If it gets to $200,000, I cheer for the team that shall not be named. Right along with all you apparent fans next season. It's up to you. We have 1 week left in our Farwell for Hire 50-50 raffle. cf5050.ca. Marianne is with us on Talkback. Good afternoon, Marianne.
Good afternoon. Could I have a number?
Oh, you bet you could.
Is 400 still available?
Oh, Marianne, I don't know why people keep asking for the same numbers, but no, somebody just asked the other day for 400 as well, and it's taken.
Oh, that's fine. Just give me a number.
Just any number at all, Marianne?
Any number.
Okay, how does 394 sound?
Wonderful.
You're so easygoing, Marianne. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, what's the first letter of your last name, Marianne?
S.
S as in Sam.
Correct.
Okay, Mary Ann S., you are Farwell's Force member number 394.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just want to make a quick comment.
Yes, of course.
I really disagree with that fella that phoned in and said that you should have to not say the name of Toronto Maple Leafs. This guy is just asking too much of you. You do so much for this area. Like, why can't you have one pleasure of cheering for the team that you like? That fellow should not be allowed to phone in anymore. That's ridiculous. You've given so much to this area. That's just not fair to even ask. And besides, people will phone in and donate purposely for that. And maybe can't even afford it, but just to prove a point for that fellow. I totally disagree, Mike. That's my comment.
All right, Marianne.
Thank you.
Thank you. I thank you very much for your comment. I thank you for becoming a Farwell's Force member. You are now a member in good standing at number 394. If you'd like to be like Marianne and join Farwell's Force, it's as easy as listening for 15 minutes every day. And, you know, this came up in conversation last night, too. It was suggested that maybe we need some exceptions because there are working stiffs, as it was put to me, that they simply can't listen for 15 minutes every day because, you know, sometimes the boss is putting the screws to them or whatever might happen. You know, listen, if you're there in spirit, and this goes on the honor system, if 570 News Radio is your go-to radio station, welcome aboard Farwell's Force. I understand that even 15 minutes a day can be asking a lot. Don't forget, the show does get podcasted, and you can listen on demand anytime when time permits for you. But I totally get it. 9 to 1, finding the 15 minutes in those 4 hours is not possible for everybody. So if 570 News Radio is your go-to, please consider joining Farwell's Force for Good, Force for Change, Force to be reckoned with. We've got more than 400 members of this growing force right now. We get stuff done around here. And Marianne, I truly appreciate your kindness. I'm just a guy with a radio show that has the opportunity to do lots of things. And the way I look at it is this. People who are not fans of the Leafs are probably pretty darn sick and tired of me because I lay it on pretty thick, don't I? So especially when it's benefiting a charity that means so much to me, if they want to turn it around on me and make me not say the Leafs name for a season, again, they're probably getting pretty sick of me because I lay it on so thick. So I could probably go down that path, especially because it supports my charity. But I truly appreciate your kind words to me. The jackpot, you can get a ticket in it by going to cf5050.ca. It just went up by another $300. Every time I hit refresh, it goes up more. Frank is next, Farwell's Force member number 26. Hi, Frank.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
Good.
Getting back to the assisted death, I have Parkinson's. I've had it for 14 years, and every year it seems to get worse. And I would like the assisted death to be no problem when I choose to have it. I don't want my family to bear what keeps on going on with this disease.
Do you not qualify, Frank?
I have not even tried yet. I'm kind of putting it off.
Yeah.
It's a terminal illness, and it just gets worse every year, despite medications and whatever else you do. But I'm good. My mind's still good. It's just my motor functions are not.
Well, I appreciate you sharing the story, Frank, and thanks for calling in. We did have that discussion about medical assistance in dying on the show earlier today. And what Frank is talking about is something that crosses my mind when I consider it. I certainly would like to, if we're dealing with something that is terminal, incurable, and we get to a point whereby our quality of life has completely deteriorated. We are a greater and greater burden to our loved ones. I totally get where you're coming from. And I think that's where we probably should be at with medical assistance in dying, as opposed to continuing to evolve it as we have, and now having the conversation about mental illness alone being the sole underlying cause that would allow us to apply for and successfully receive medical assistance in dying. We're not going down that path yet, and I think that's a good thing. I got to get out of here for another day, but I'll hit refresh one more time. Another $150 in the Farwell for Hire 50/50 jackpot. Get your tickets at cf5050.ca and come back tomorrow morning at 9. We'll resume the conversation then. My name is Mike Farwell. You are a force for good. Bye for now.